Okay,
right.
Justine, you're good to go.
Thank you so much, Lucian, and thank you everybody for being patient with me as I had computer troubles and signed on. My name is Justine Kucha. I am the chair of the Battery Park City Committee of Community Board 1. My co-chair is Kathy Gupta. Our other board members on the call are Eric Flores, look in, Betty Kay, Bob Schneck, Jeff, Jimmy Sung. We've got our esteemed chairman of Community Board 1, Tim Meltzer. And I think we are good to go. So like, as you know, or as you may not know, I'm going to tell you now, the way we operate is by Robert's rules. So I will be conducting the meeting when we're going to be having presentations as set forth in the agenda. First, the presenters will go, then the board will have a chance to speak. Anybody who wants to ask a question or speak, raise your hand first. I'll call on you. Anyone who is an attendee, you cannot automatically speak, but you can raise your hands and I will call on you. Thank you all for your patience, and that's how we'll proceed. Oh, I see Sarah Cassell just joined on too. Thank you. All right, so I believe Untitled Towers is going to be postponed till next month, but we're going to have a presentation by Jack. I am such a bad reader here, but Leger, is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect, Jack, thank you. And I think that, Nick, did I get a text from you saying, and I think Lucian and I confirmed that you're going to do a quick introduction of Jack, please?
I will. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone.
Thank
Jack,
you.
I was going to keep my coat on as well, but since you took yours off, I'm going to.
Yeah, I took mine off
your
because it was a pattern, and I thought it would get everyone dizzy, so I figured I'd go with basic color.
Well, thank you. And Justine, thank you as well, and Lucian and the team. So just wanted to take a quick moment here to introduce or reintroduce Jack Klager from the Museum of Jewish Heritage. Jack's been to the committee a couple of times on your end, and for us, he has been and remains just a remarkable partner in one of the preeminent, if not the preeminent, cultural institution in Battery Park City, certainly, and across Lower Manhattan. So what Jack was going to go into, and the team tonight is the name is I want to make sure I don't butcher it, the Theresienstadt tree, but it's the children's tree, what it's going to be called. And Jack will go into some more detail, but you know, in a world that is increasingly challenged from what seems like all sides sometimes, when you talk about the resiliency and the strength and the inspiring nature of the human spirit, this is it. So without any further ado, I hope that tees you up, that does justice to what this amazing project is, Jack. But I just want to make sure that I had prepped the committee, the Battery Park City Authority's involvement in it is that we will be working closely with Jack's team and our team of horticulturalists to get the tree planted when it arrives. So it is in keeping with our close partnership with the museum and in the interest of advancing some of the wonderful cultural resources we have down here in Lower Manhattan and in Battery Park City in particular. So with that, Jack, and thank you, Justine.
Well, thank you, Nick, and thank you not only to Battery Park City, but also thank you to the community board, number one, especially to Justine and Lucian, I'm sorry, for this invitation to present what we believe is a significant opportunity for not only the museum, your neighbor institution, but also the Battery Park City community. Let me begin by recounting a story of an elderly Jewish man who is planting a tree sapling when a passerby asks him, how long will it take for this sapling to grow into a mature tree? The elderly man replies, about 70 years, and the passerby says, but you won't live long enough to see that. To which the elderly man replies, no, but my grandchildren will. And my forefathers, as they planted for me, I will plant for future generations. As some of you know, in Judaism, we plant trees to honor and commemorate the life of a loved one. Trees remind us of the individual's legacy as it matures and the roots that take hold in the ground. The tradition teaches younger generations about the circle of life, why we take care of one another, and strengthen the community in which we live and send our children to school. There is a Jewish holiday called Tu B'Shvat, the New Year for trees, which we celebrate usually in January. I have the slide of the tree. We're here tonight to present the plan to plant a 15-foot silver maple tree on the grounds of Battery Park City. You see the tree now where it is in the ground in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. This tree has a legacy emanating from the Holocaust during World War II. It was grown from the cutting of a tree that was planted in 1943 in the Theresienstadt concentration camp near Prague, Czechoslovakia. At that time, the planting of a tree for Jewish children was an act of spiritual resistance to the oppression under the Nazis who ran the camp. The tree will be located in the front of the museum. Theresienstadt was both a hybrid concentration camp and ghetto and served two main purposes for the Nazis. It was a deportation point to the extermination camps, mostly Auschwitz, but the Nazis tried to fool the rest of the world at large by presenting Theresienstadt as a model resettlement camp for Jews. The Germans tried to hide the camp's genocidal purpose. There were a large number of Jewish children who were deported to Theresienstadt. Since this school is a beacon of education for children, please know that a group of adult prisoners in the camp established a council of educators. Irma Lasher, a Jewish teacher, was a member of that council. And what did she take upon herself to do for the children there? In January of 1943, Mrs. Lasher bribed a Czech camp guard to smuggle a tree sapling into the camp. She wanted to plant the young tree to celebrate the holiday of Tu B'Shvat, which I mentioned earlier. She planned a secret ceremony with the children, and they planted it and used their water rations, which were precious, to nurture it. Ms. Lasher and almost all of her children were deported to Auschwitz, the largest extermination camp in Poland, and died there. Of the more than 15,000 Jewish children deported during the Holocaust to Theresienstadt, fewer than 200 survived. After liberation, survivors placed a sign at the base of the tree proclaiming, "As the branches of this tree, so the branches of our people." Although the tree was later destroyed in a flood, saplings had been cut from it and planted in Jerusalem, in San Francisco, in Chicago, and in Philadelphia, but never in New York City, which is home to the largest community of Holocaust survivors and their descendants of any city outside of Israel. A Jewish philanthropist purchased a historic farm in Pennsylvania where 7 trees grown from cuttings of the original tree are thriving. He recently agreed to donate one of the 7 trees to the Museum of Jewish Heritage, a living memorial to the Holocaust. Battery Park City Authority will plant the tree this September, directly across the street from PS 276. I'm pleased that the principal of PS 276, Ms. Terry Ryder, is joining us tonight. The teachers, other key staff, and students of PS 276 would be involved in the planting and the ongoing care of the silver maple tree. We realize this will require taking down an existing tree to make room for this special tree, which we know is always a challenging thing, but we do believe this is a very unique situation and believe it will be a very special addition to the community. We believe it is especially appropriate to have teachers and students to help honor and commemorate what a brave teacher and a group of brave children did almost 80 years ago. Thank you for your time, and we welcome any questions now.
Thank you so much, Jack, if I may call you Jack.
Yes.
Wow. And thank you, Terry, too, for being here. I want to remind attendees that if you have any questions, when you raise your hand, the way you do it in this new WebEx is that you go to the little smiley face where if you put your cursor on it, it says reactions. And then the very top thing that pops up, it says raise hand. I don't know if you can see, but I just raised my hand. Well, maybe I did. And now I'm lowering my hand. But that's how you do it, just so you know. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you if that's Lucian doing that. All right, so board members, any questions and comments? At this point, as I'm looking for hands to be raised, I just have to say thank you. I love that PS 276 is getting involved with this. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Anybody have anything to say? I see no hands raised. Any attendees? Any hands raised? I see Terry.
We have
Please.
Kelly McGowan in the attendee section.
Okay, perfect. And Terry, please, you speak. You can unmute yourself.
I just want to thank the museum for inviting us. We are incredibly honored that that we have such a strong relationship with the museum. They're so generous with their time and their ideas of how to bring the kids and our families into the work of the museum about justice and equity and making the world a better place for everybody. So we just are incredibly touched and honored that they involve us in these things. And the teachers and the kids are really excited about doing this work. So thank you.
That's
Great.
great. Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you so, so much. Kathy, I see you raised your hand, and Betty Kay. So Kathy, then Betty, please.
Sure. It's incredibly moving and meaningful. I wondered what kind of signage you were planning to explain to the average passerby what the tree is about and et cetera.
Sure. We will put up in the short term a temporary sign that'll give a description. This will be called the Children's Tree. We are going to create a more permanent sign, which of course must be approved by the Battery Park City Authority, and that we're in the process of putting together, that will tell some of the history of Theresienstadt, and particularly the story of this tree. On this call is also Josh Mack, who is our Vice President of Marketing and Communications. Josh, I probably have fractured the description of this in the best way, but is there any way you can give a little color to the answer?
Sure. I think that to start off, we're just going to have a very, very small temporary plaque and move to tell more of the story. But the story we're going to have a section on our website devoted to the tree, and working with Terry as well ongoing. So I think that the plaque will refer people to the site where they can get the full story. I think if you're familiar with the rail car that we had in front, there was a plaque that told the story of one of the deportations, and I think it wouldn't be larger than that, if anything. And I think primarily we'll use the site, but try to tell passerby that there is a special thing going on here. So not a very large plaque by any means, even in its permanent state.
Does that answer? That's as best as we can answer now. As I can tell you, when we had the railroad car in front and we put up signage, we went through the review process with Battery Park City so that it met all the standards. We realized this is an artifact and a sign that will be in public view for people walking by. So we want to make it descriptive. The format will be to the standards that we review with Battery Park City for anything that's external facing, and we will go through that process. The temporary sign will be there for a while. It'll probably take a little longer to put up the permanent sign.
Thanks. It does answer the question. I wasn't worried about size as much as having an opportunity to tell the whole story.
Yeah. We'll tell. It's obviously a very complex and moving story. We will review with both Battery Park City and PS 276 what we think is the best way, because we want both obviously adults and younger people to be able to read it and understand the impact of the story.
Very much. I will also say that we are hoping to have a dedication. The Battery Park, we're planning on planting the tree on November 17th and having it moved up. But then on December 2nd, we're planning on having a dedication ceremony. And I'll be inviting the community. You're all invited. We'll be doing it in our theater, hopefully at 11 o'clock, and we'll let you know. But there'll be a short ceremony, and then the kids will be singing, and the whole fifth grade will be in attendance. So we're very excited about that.
That's lovely. Terry, if there's a way to get out to the alumni who are still around of the PSIS 276, I wish Katie was going to be here, but I think she'll be back at school on December 2nd and November 17th. But I do think there'd be a bunch of kids that would love to come. Kathy, you done? All right, Betty, you're up. And then I see in the attendee, I see that Kelly McGowan has a hand up, and I saw that Marianne had it, but she took it down. So Marianne, just think about it and let me know if you want to talk again. But Betty, you're up.
Thank you. Actually, my question was just answered by the last person because it was about dates. But anyway, congratulations really on this planting. It is a very important thing and I look forward to it.
Thank you. We look forward to having you come to the dedication and on an ongoing basis.
Thank you so
hopefully
much.
can come in time.
Thank you. All right, so I have a question before I go to Kelly. So you had said a tree is going to be taken out because of the spacing. I would be hoping, depending on the size of the tree and if it's possible, that the tree could be placed someplace else. And I don't know if you can answer that question or not, but maybe Nick, you can think about that, because that might be what Kelly's got to say. Maybe not. Maybe something else to say. But that would be one question. And with that, because I don't think Jack, you or Joshua would have an answer to that one, right?
I actually do have an answer, but
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
it's on. Why don't I share? I'm going to share again the slide deck so you can see exactly where the tree's going. So this tree unfortunately has to be taken out, and
The big
because
one.
of its size, there's a whole row of them going down towards. I think there are 4 or 5 on
Okay.
the side going down towards alongside the road before you get to our side door. BPCA said that it can't be moved. It's too big, and unfortunately, we're swapping a tree for a tree, and we all feel pretty terrible about that. But the tree will probably be planted in here, and our horticulturists and BPCA's lead say that they can't really coexist, unfortunately.
Okay. Perhaps, Nick, we can talk offline about maybe finding a tree someplace else to plant, just to replace the one that's being taken down. Although it is being replaced, I get it, but more trees are always better. All right, let's oh, Tammy, you're up. Do you want to talk before Kelly and Marianne? No, okay. So then let's go to Kelly first. Lucian, please unmute, and then Marianne.
Muted.
Kelly's not unmuted that I see.
Thank you.
Kelly, go ahead.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so most of my questions did get answered, although I would echo the comment about saving the big tree if there was any way to do that. But my main point was, I think this is a fantastic idea, and as the history of the Holocaust and World War II in general slips from the collective memory through the generations, I'm wondering, is there more we could do than just the signage and an event to get more people to understand the story? Because I think that happened with the box car, the kettle car in front. It afforded an opportunity for people who haven't heard, in another generation, to hear this story and to bring it home to life. This is actually, in some ways, an even nicer one because of the story of the tree. Whether that was just a broader community outreach and stories in local papers or even national papers. So at that, I wait for an answer.
I would like to make it a 2-part answer. The first part is that obviously we will try and promote on an ongoing basis the story of the tree, but there is also a significant amount of information that we have within the walls of the museum about the Theresienstadt camp, which will be a part of our new core exhibition opening in spring of 22. But the other part of my answer, I'd like to defer to Principal Ryder, because I know there have been some discussions about how on an ongoing basis the tree and its story can be incorporated by the school going forward. So I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Principal Ryder, but maybe you could part answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think the teachers are already planning how they can integrate the idea of the tree into the curriculum that is standards-based, that is taught in the school. So our science teacher, our primary grade science teacher, always teaches about trees in science. And so this is going to be, the story of the tree is going to be incorporated into the work she does with our younger students. Our fifth graders every spring do a Holocaust studies unit thing that the teachers have developed in partnership with the museum, meeting Hate with Humanity. And so they look at primary source documents. They have interviews and presentations by survivors, and they are now working on this story about the tree and how that will be brought in. And so the teachers are writing up units, like short little units, that enhance the curricular work that our students already do.
I would also add that there's a Jewish holiday called Tu B'Shvat, which is basically about trees, and we will probably do some ongoing programming in the community. We work closely with BPCA and Abby Ehrlich, who's very fond of small things, small celebrations. So I think that the tree provides us a wonderful opportunity to do things like that.
May I add one point that I don't think, it's not necessarily an answer to the question, but I want to point out that one of our employees who works for Josh, who lives in Battery Park City and whose daughter goes to school at PS 276, is actually a descendant of Theresienstadt survivors. And so her, effectively the great-grandchild of survivors, will be at the school and part of the program. I think that's a very nice thing to know.
Great, thank you. Kelly, you good?
Yeah, I was just wondering if is there anything we could do to help spread that past the local schools of 89 and 276.
I'm hoping it'll be in the newspapers and we can branch that out. Yes, right?
Right.
Yeah, we have some interest from a couple of news sources who would like to cover the story, and we work on that, and we will obviously keep the community board in Battery Park City apprised of all of that. So we will try and make it as well known as possible an event, and whatever coverage there is, the more it can be communicated within the community, the better, and the more the community wants to be involved, we're more than willing and glad to do that.
I think that's great. Thank you so much. And let us know through Lucian, through Tammy, through me, whatever, how we can help pass the word around. Mary Ann? Lucian, you need to unmute her.
The new WebEx, I request that they unmute, and then we have to wait for them to do it. So,
Got it.
So Marianne, if you would, unmute yourself.
Probably having technical difficulties. I can't blame her. Oh, there she goes.
Okay,
Good. And you're
so-
unmuted.
So my earlier question was answered. It was the same one as Betty, but I also wanted to share something that, is everyone aware that we also have a small growth of tree that came in our neighborhood that came from Anne Frank's chestnut tree? Is everybody also aware of that in terms of
Yes.
communicating and sharing with kids and so on? Okay, so I'll leave it at that. And if anybody doesn't know about it, Google it.
Google it. Yeah, it's over by the Greek
Right.
right?
The new Greek
the new-
church
thank
that just
you, yeah.
opened, yeah.
When you
Yeah.
walk across over the bridge and you're up on the upper level, it's there. I noticed it. That's lovely.
It's in Liberty Park, on the Liberty Park Bridge.
Thank you, Nick.
I would add that my team has recently been putting together some walking tours. We have one of colonial Jewish New York, lower New York, but also of Battery Park, and that tree is part of it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Marianne, you good?
I'm good.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
So I see Tammy, Bob Schneck. I'm going to ask both you guys to just be short because we got a lot of other things to talk about, but I certainly want to give you both a chance to speak. I'm sure you'll be short, Tammy. Do you want to go before Bob or after? Your call.
Before.
Go ahead.
I wanted to know what with the resiliency plans that are up and coming for Wagner Park, included in that is a complete redoing of the west, south, and around towards the front of the museum. Will this tree have to be taken out for any of the resiliency measures, or is the northeast corner of the museum being left alone?
Nick, are you able to answer
I'm here.
that, or-
Sorry. Yeah, I was trying to unmute. From the location indicated in the deck, I don't believe this is impacted by the resiliency work, but I will advise if that's different. My understanding is no. It should be around the back end of the museum, closer to the Esplanade,
That's
north
our
and south of there.
understanding. Yeah, that's our understanding as well. I don't know if is Ryan Torres on the call?
Ryan is here,
Yes.
actually. Yes, if I can take the opportunity, just because we're taking opportunities.
Ryan raised his hand. Yeah, so if you want.
Ryan is I think you all know Ryan. She was here with Bruno, made the presentation last year. Bruno Pomponi, our longtime
Yes.
Vice President of Parks Operations, has recently retired. He was wonderful, decades and decades worth of experience. But I'm pleased to let you know that Ryan Torres is now our newly appointed Vice President of Parks Operations. She is an incredible pro. I'm honored every day to work with her, and she wows me all the time with her knowledge and care and dedication to her craft. And she also called in tonight as well. So go ahead, Ryan. You can also, so I wanted to just, by way of introduction, let you know that, but then also let you know that she was on the call to answer additional questions as well. Go
Now
ahead,
I know
Ryan.
who you are.
Yes,
you know,
hi, yeah,
Ryan,
there I
and
am.
Congratulations. Yes,
Thank you. Yeah, really honored to be here. And you know, I don't know how many times I hear Jack's story. I could just listen to it all night. As part of the pre-planning of this project, the resiliency was taken into account, and as of right now, it's not something we're going to be putting in, taking out, putting back in. Again, that corner it should be fine.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. I also wanted to ask what kind of outreach before you dig up and put down can be done to the building that's next door. They were never alerted or discussed or notified or pamphleted anything when the Mother Cabrini was done and there was drilling and digging and everything outside their door. So I just ask that as a good neighbor policy, it is more than just presenting here, that the Battery Park City Authority do some due diligence to the neighboring building, and perhaps with Jack can come up with a flyer, because it's a phenomenal program. A lot of those kids in the building go to 276, which is awesome, but it would be great to have an official thing go out, A, before you dig out the tree, and B, what the upcoming and exciting news is to build some more community engagement for the building that is next to it and the one across the street, please.
Thank you for that, Tammy. And yes, we will prepare not only a flyer, but I'll be glad you just point me and I'll meet with anybody and talk to them. So we'll be glad to do that. But definitely a flyer, and we will reach out to whoever the appropriate people are at both buildings, and I'll be glad to go through as we describe it, my spiel.
And we are also happy, Jack, so you know, once you're ready with your programming, and if you would like more participation, to share this through the Waterfront Parks and Cultural Committee, as well as I'm happy to present it at full board for you when you're ready.
That's great. Thank you
too,
for that, Tammy. And
I'd share it with you, Ned.
I'm glad Josh is on the call, because he's responsible for making us look good in terms of our follow-up. So we
I
will,
think he knows how to find me, so we
Yep.
should be in good shape. All
yeah,
right. Well,
absolutely.
All right, cool. So Bob, quick, because we got
Okay,
it. Thank you.
I just have a very small point to make, and the point's about unrelated projects. I was a docent at Tribute for a number of years, and one of the centerpieces of every tour is the survivor tree, and it fits right in the tradition with the tree at the Greek at the Greek cathedral, and also the other tree. So I'm sure that the that the Memorial Museum would be interested in also including, every time anyone tells a story, in kind of tying these three things together, because I think they're all memorials of this, really the same thing, and they're all under the skin related. So that's my observation.
Thank you. That is a very good point, and we will incorporate as much as we can in future, as Josh said, in terms of our reaching out in terms of the local tours, as well as the reference to the Anne Frank tree. I might add, by the way, that on the day that we do the dedication, we are going to have 2 actual survivors of the Theresienstadt camp there. So I invite you all to join and come.
Thank you so much. As I see no other hands, I'm going to close this out. But I just want to say to Jack and also to Terry and to everybody involved in this, as a kind of closing comment, I wish that we lived in a world where this kind of project was just purely like historical interest, but sadly it's not. And I think the story of this tree is so much more contemporary and topical and relevant today than ever. And here's hoping that everybody that sees it now is moved by what it stands for and what it's doing, and that it makes a difference. So thank you, and thank you for this generation and the generations to come.
Thank you, and thank you all to the community board for your support, for your participation, partnership, and we look forward to working with you again on this and other projects in the future.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. All right. So next, are we ready to move on, Lucian? We're good?
Yeah, you can take this in any order you like.
No, I'm going to stick to the agenda. Next we could do local law 97 and what it means for BPC as a discussion. Unless you want to do we have everybody here from the Brookfield Public Art installation and they want to get out of here and not hear about local law 97?
Let's see. I'm going to move over Haley. Let's see if Haley's here. With all the people, oh, Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea. Is your team here? You can unmute yourself now.
Great. Hi. Yes, I think we're all here from the Brookfield side.
Great. Who do I need to pull over? Who am I missing?
It's going to be me, Elisa Martin, Christine Guzman, and Susan Schroeder.
All right.
Okay.
Why don't we
Christine,
let
looks
these
like they're
guys,
here.
yeah, why don't we let these guys present so they can listen. I would love them to listen. If they live in Manhattan or any place where this affects them, it'll be an interesting discussion, but otherwise let's hear about Brookfield Public Art.
Appreciate it, Justine. I'm going to share my screen. And I think Elisa from Arts Brookfield had just a few introductory comments to TSO.
Perfect.
Yes. Hello, I'm unmuted. I'm usually here to talk about events, and it is so great to be here to talk about art. We're really excited to bring this artist and this particular public art installation to the waterfront plaza. We're in full support of this initiative. In keeping with the Arts and Events program at Brookfield Place, the installation is free and open to the public. And we're so glad that Skylight and Moe thought of all of us in Battery Park and on the waterfront plaza for it. So I'm going to hand this off to Christine Guzman from Moe and Chandon to tell you about the installation.
Thank you so much, Elisa, and thank you all for inviting me and letting me participate in this meeting. So I'll just tell you a little bit about us, and then I'll hand it over to Susan, who can explain a bit more about the the actual installation and how it's coming to life. So, you know, Moet and Chandon Champagne, if you aren't familiar with us, we have a long history of you know, celebrating moments and sharing celebrations since 1743. A bottle is opened every second somewhere in the world, which is a crazy metric. But really what we represent and believe in is bringing people together and this, you know, and celebrations. Doing everything that we do with this strong spirit of generosity. And I think that, you know, especially coming out of the last 2 years, we can all agree that, you know, people want to feel joy and connection more than ever. So with that in mind, you know, and again, kind of building on what feels really authentic for us in this space of bringing people together and celebrations, we've partnered with this amazing artist to create kind of this physical manifestation of the meaning of celebrating togetherness. So the artist's name is S. Devlin. S is an award-winning British artist and set designer. She's known for creating large-scale performative sculptures and environments that fuse music, language, and light. She has an amazing portfolio, including grand opera productions, stadium concert tours for people like Kanye West, Adele, Beyonce. She did the most recent Olympic opening ceremony, as well as you know, some very high-end fashion shows for well-known brands. She's been named the artistic director for the 2020 London Design Biennial, and she's also designing the UK Pavilion Expo in 2021 in Dubai. So her installation represents, and again, Susan will go into the detail, but it represents this celebration of diversity. And once we kind of landed on that concept with her, we knew that New York was the perfect place to bring this installation and this sculpture. And when looking around New York, you know, searching for the perfect location, we just fell in love with the backdrop of Battery Park City. I think the skyline, the waterfront, and really now also seeing all the different types of people and that frequent Brookfield Place and call it home and the community that you guys have there, I think really feels natural for the concept of this installation. And we're excited to bring it here this winter. So I'll hand it over to Susan to go into the details.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here tonight representing Moet and as Devlin. I am also a resident of Battery Park City myself. I live at 380 Rector Place and have since 2002. So I will be staying on after this presentation. I think Christine really was able to speak to sort of the motivation behind this art piece, and what I can speak to is the actual physical structure, what it looks like, what it does, what the impact will be on the lower plaza. These are some artistic renderings. They are emphasis on artistic. This does not literally show the location on the lower plaza at Brookfield Place, but I think it gives you a good daytime and nighttime view of the structure. So to outline sort of the timeline that will be in place, the open and sort of active hours for the public to experience the installation will be from December 6th through December 19th. Daily will be open from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekdays, and then on the weekends, we're going to be open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. We took a look at a lot of the other operating hours for other establishments in the neighborhood, and we really wanted to make sure, you know, that we gave people even more opportunities to experience the sculpture on the weekends, hence the extra operating hour on Saturdays and Sundays. The load in, it will take us a little bit of time to build this. It's a large installation, so our load in period will be from November 26th to December 5th. It'll be load in hours between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. And then it'll take us 4 days on the back end to dismantle it. So our dismantle hours will be December 20th through 23rd, also 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. The structure itself is roughly 26 feet tall, and with the platforms and everything, it's 52 feet in diameter. I think you saw in the renderings there are these a curved steel frame that supports a lightweight webbing material. We call them the straps. The structure in Ez's mind is literally supporting the art. The art for her is the straps and this woven interconnectivity that they explore. There's a circular platform that's the base, and the structure itself will actually rotate. So there's an outer ring that's fixed and then an inner ring that rotates, and it will make a rotation once every 8 minutes. Also built into the structure can accommodate 24 people at a time with 6-foot social distancing in mind. So that means we'll be able to have 100 guests experience the structure every hour. It is free and open to the public. We will be offering, through a website, timed ticketing so you can come experience it. We will probably be doing some standby experiencing for those who maybe didn't go to the website ahead of time. But it is free and open to the public for the duration of its presence at Brookfield Place. I'm not sure what's on the next page. Oh, right. Okay, good. The structure itself does have architectural lighting built into it, emphasis on architectural. It's really meant to light the art. It is focused inward, so it's inward facing, and it's lighting the straps. As I mentioned, those are sort of Ez's canvas. So we're merely painting the canvas that she's creating within these curved steel elements. It does have color changing capability. It's not going to be anything particularly, flashy or fast paced. It's very organic, slow moving. There's not going to be any strobing effects, but there may be the occasional holiday twinkle in the evening time, which would be kind of inspired by the lights that you would see on the Eiffel Tower that kind of go off every 15 minutes. And the lighting will be fully active during the operation hours. And then, of course, at the end of the day, when we depart for the evening, we'll leave it, at a lower level just for safety reasons. There's also audio that's integrated. There's a soundscape that's being developed. It's choral voices and orchestral music, and it will play, again, focused inward to the sculpture. So you'll only be able to hear the audio if you're standing on the platform or in the immediate adjacent area of the structure. And those two things will kind of work in conjunction to expand the interactivity of this art piece. This is a very aerial view of what our footprint will look like during the installation. So we're trying to create a self-contained area here. So always leaving clear that 15-foot pedestrian and traffic lane. We do you'll see the footprint of the structure there. You'll see it better on a more zoomed in plan. So that's it in its final. This is what it will look like when it's active. So after the installation period, when it's open to the public, it will just be the structure itself, situated between some of the existing elements there on the lower plaza. But during the installation period, we are putting up a barrier, like a fencing barrier, to kind of contain our area. And any of the equipment that we need for the installation. So that's the footprint that you see here. So this is just for the installation period, and all of that will magically disappear for the opening. Was that our last slide? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Lots of questions for you, but I will hold mine till the end of the I'll let my committee speak first. I see Sarah Cassell has raised her hand. I see Kathy. I'm not sure if it's up from before, but if it is not, Kathy first, then Sarah.
No, it's an old hand. So
okay, so Sarah, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Great, thank you, Justine. It looks like it's going to be just lovely. I live in Gateway Plaza, and anything that happens on the Esplanade really affects us here in Gateway. The noise does echo. We do hear the DJ from the weekend at the cafe. If it is indeed disturbing people, do we need to walk down or do we call Brookfield? What's the procedure for that? Do you have one in place?
I'm deferring to Alyssa unless she.
Sure. I wasn't sure if Chelsea wanted to take that, but yes, you can certainly call over to Brookfield Place, and they will alert my team, and we'll work with Susan and her team to fix whatever problem it might be.
And what time?
It looks like it's going to be really beautiful, but just know that the sound echoes around that marina more than you know.
Yes. I would say with our structure that we're certainly going to be quieter than the DJ that you're referencing. I have many friends who live in Gateway Plaza and have over the years that look down on the marina. So definitely being conscientious of light in the windows, audio. We will have a security presence there with the structure 24 hours a day. So even when it's not operational, there'll be physical humans there that could be approached. And my team will be on call also 24 hours a day. So we'll be happy to field any questions from the neighborhood at any time. I mean, we get a lot of people that want to know what's going on and come over and ask us questions. And we're certainly open and available to field those. And I've also told you where I live, so you can find me.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, exactly. So no, that's good. Actually, that does give me some comfort to know that you're here in the neighborhood so that you can come actually and do something. I have a question. The load in and load out, and I'm going to defer to my Gateway Plaza board members and anybody on the call who's in Gateway who would be affected by this, but 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., that seems really early and really late. I think I've heard from Robin Force that she can't get into the meeting. I don't know what's going on, but I wish she were here. Because...
I'll move her over, yeah.
Okay, thank you. If you let her in, if you can find her, let her in. And I don't know if Jeff Galloway was on, but I don't see him now, but maybe I'm just not finding him. And then of course, Sarah, but I wonder, so questions that I have is the timing of it. I think maybe they really can't be starting, especially on Thanksgiving weekend. You're talking about Saturday after Thanksgiving weekend to start at 7 a.m. And I don't know how loud it's going to be I don't know what the setup entails, but I'm concerned about the folks there because it's very residential. I don't think the North neighborhood's going to hear it because you've got Brookfield blocking them, but Gateway will certainly be, I think, affected by the noise in the morning. So
7 a.m. is really early, and babies wake up and people cry. You have to. It's very
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I kind of where I was going with it. I don't see anybody raising their hands about it, but I tell you, I have an issue with it. Would you be able to curtail, maybe start at 9 a.m. and maybe stop at 8 p.m.? And would that add an extra day on either end?
Yeah, I know that the production team was working from sort of the standard guidelines that we have. So I think we can ensure that those are in line with past productions and make sure we're not operating outside of any sort of, guidelines and procedures that we've been given, and see if there's any sort of movement that would be necessary there. But definitely understand the concern.
Well, yeah, I guess what I'm saying to you is that 7 a.m. is not okay.
I think, Justine, there's a difference between what the Battery Park City Authority has as guidelines and what the community deems as acceptable. So then, for people who are sleeping is, holistically fine for Brookfield, but not necessarily if you're the one asleep.
Exactly. So I guess that's what I need to say. And so I guess, Nick, I'm going to push back on you a little bit just to maybe revise your guidelines a little bit. If in fact it needs to be revision, because this will be for the load in and load out. And then tell me about the twinkling lights and what if they are actually noise pollution or light pollution at night? I'm throwing stuff out there.
Yeah, again, all of the lighting is focused sort of in towards the sculpture. It's not like we have strobe lights pointing out. So I think there'll be a physical limitation into what that twinkle will actually look like. I think it's more like you're standing and it twinkle. So maybe my Eiffel Tower reference was a bit
Yeah, because
off.
that made me.
I know, I realized it as I said it.
That was not good.
Yeah.
But twinkling lights that look like snow falling, that sounds lovely.
Exactly.
Twinkling lights like the Eiffel Tower, I'm like, no.
I'm gonna steal that for my next presentation.
There you go. And I guess what I would just ask, before Tammy, I'm gonna definitely let you speak in a second, but I would ask is that keeping in touch and keeping in contact with us as neighbors to see where our folks in Gateway, how they're feeling, what's going on with it all, and maybe adjusting. Again, you're having your presentation in your opening hours are fine from 10 till 9 or 11 till 9. I forgot the days you said. Those are fine. It's just the load in and load out that are bothering me. And then perhaps the overnight lights. But Tammy?
So one of the discussions we've had with Brookfield on and off over the years, and this is definitely more of a Brookfield conversation than the art installation because you're only following the rules that Brookfield sets out for you, is that Brookfield does have a driveway and a loading dock area that's off the end of North End Avenue that you could stage in and then go down the path versus using the Liberty Street entrance. And we would encourage you, because of the lack of residential engagement that is over there, because it's really between Brookfield and the Merc, to be able to do all of the load in on that street.
We are.
Okay, so there will be no usage of Liberty Street, the driveway of Liberty, or the Liberty Hill down towards the police memorial for load-in, correct?
It's my understanding all of our trucks and equipment and gear and crew will all enter from the north driveway that you're referring to. We're not doing street permits or staging or anything on Liberty or South End. I have the understanding, and again, we can clarify these, that as trucks exit, they did potentially want them to exit that way, right? As they were leaving. Okay.
Not at 7 a.m. Because I mean, I know what it means. It's staging, it's loading, it's this. It tends to be very, very loud. And even the gate going up and down tends to be quite loud. So if there's any way that you can figure out how to in and out off of North End Avenue, that would certainly be appreciative for the community.
Okay. And is that for the whole day or just before a certain time? Just thinking about turning trucks around.
It is a safety issue on the plaza, which is one of the reasons that we ask that trucks go through in one direction. And I think that we can work with Susan and her team to make sure that they are not going out South End at early in the morning or later in the evening. But we wouldn't want to create unsafe conditions on the plaza for pedestrians.
Okay. We'll certainly see how that goes and get back to you if we get feedback from community. The other question I wanted to ask has to do with bicycle access. The path that goes behind Brookfield is frequently in the summers. It is made into a dismount zone. Will you be turning this into a full dismount zone again for this art installation? And if so, is it for the duration, or is where's the intent by Brookfield with the access for the bicyclists? Because that has been a long discussion that we've had. And anytime there's a pinch point of art or other things in the South Plaza, we get a larger interaction between pedestrian and wheeled bicycles, both motorized and unmotorized, in addition with people and dogs and carriages, which has impacted quality of life. So are you turning it into a dismount zone for bicyclists of all kinds?
Again, the concern is about general safety for everybody there. And when the bikes speed through, when the lane narrows to 15 feet and the bikes speed through, we have had pedestrians hit by bicyclists. So what we institute the dismount zone when we feel that pedestrian safety is going to be endangered in that area. And we can certainly look at it. I'm hopeful that the bikes stay in their proper lane on West Street.
So that's actually brings me to my second point, which was going to be to try and put up some signage and to work with the Battery Park City Authority, because local traffic is one thing, kids and little bicycles is one thing, but the through traffic, I agree with you 100%. it would be an ideal situation if they are on the greenway. And so whatever signage and things that you can do to encourage that, which includes at the bottom of the Liberty Street ramp at the edge of where your property line is, to encourage people to go up the hill and into the greenway, we would be supportive. You walked right into that.
Great.
Sorry. That's where I
No,
was.
no, but that's actually a great point to put the dismount signage or alert to dismount signage closer to that turn, so people don't make the turn, that they just go straight up to Liberty Street. That is actually great, and we'll work with my production team to make that happen.
Many thanks.
That sounds cool. And then I'm thinking Betty Kay is going to be raising this issue, but I recall at the very beginning of when Brookfield decided to have that a dismount zone, they were asking people who were mobility impaired to dismount and not go through. And so I guess I would just like, I don't know, a kinder, gentler approach, but I will let Betty speak. Thank you, Betty.
Well, actually, I was going to talk about something different. I know the people you're hearing all from Gateway and south of the installation. I live in the first building that's north and across from the Conrad Hotel, which has nobody here to speak for it either. Because installations and the backups that occur of the trucks making deliveries, whether it's take up or take down, they double park in front of my building. But I wanted to point out a bigger issue that's different since COVID. And that is, it used to be that the trucks would also lined up in front of the Irish Hunger Monument because they could park against that curb, which is illegal, but it was empty because it's a no standing anytime zone. Since COVID, it is constantly parked up by the law enforcement people at 230 of VC Street, which means any of the trucks that now back up are double parked. That means when the express buses try to go through, because we get the Staten Island Express buses that come up North End Avenue, they get forced into the opposite direction. So now you have the northbound and southbound people vying to get into the same lane in the northbound lane. If there was any way.
So I'm sorry, is the double parking on North End, or is it on the street, on the side street by the Hunger Memorial? I'm just trying to follow.
It's North End Avenue.
On North End itself, thank you.
So as soon as you come out of the parking for Brookfield, where the guard is, you've got the Irish Hunger Monument at the start of North End Avenue.
Yep, I know where you are.
If there's any way you could at least overnight block that lane so that nobody parks, which they're not supposed to park. And I've been in lots of fights with people who do park there. And some of them, the Conrad Hotel knows they're coming because a lot of the law enforcement conventions are over there. Sometimes the first precinct knows because they decide to hold roll call there. And then they all go park even worse than usual, which will force your trucks way out across North End Avenue. So you probably want to talk to them to kind of coordinate it for your pickup and your drop off dates.
Sure. So Chelsea and Susan, you're already in conversation with Rebecca Zuber, our senior production director, who can coordinate this with our operations team.
Yes, we are working closely to develop a trucking schedule that should hopefully keep things moving along quickly. And then I think Susan can probably speak to this better, but we are pulling some lane permits that will hopefully help to create dedicated spaces for those trucks as they come in.
Thanks. That's really important on North End Avenue. So you'll be glad you did it.
Betty, where lane permits are you talking, just in case, so we know? Because I'm sincerely hoping that will be a solution that does not, for example, block the bus stops that are further down North End Avenue or the entrance to the residential buildings by staging around the Irish Hunger Memorial. So I just want to be really careful when you say that word, because we have seen these, much to Betty's point, and that's not really the best of solutions.
Okay, we'll be working very closely, as Elisa mentioned, with her team to figure out where those permits have been pulled for and making sure that they're in the appropriate areas that won't, I would assume all of those lanes that would be designated by the city would be in the appropriate areas. And, we would hope that that wouldn't cause the staggered effect with anyone who might be parking there illegally, or to Betty's point, just sort of double parking.
Just be aware they are law enforcement, so they feel they're above the law. In fact, they park on the sidewalk too. So
Yeah. Yeah, these aren't just regular people that are doing it.
no,
You're
they're
right.
not. They're
It's
feds
the
and
cops, yeah.
Okay.
So not so easy to enforce. But thank you, Betty. Really good points.
Thank you.
I see no other hands, so I think we are good. I would love a report back, whether it's from Brookfield or from Nick from BPCA about the hours of load in and load out, because that, and then getting back to with information about the parking and how we're going to do it. But other than that, thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
We really appreciate the time, everyone.
Hey, Justine, can I just make sure that I have this right for my notes? So the request was to have the load-in start at 8 a.m.
No, 9 if
rather than
possible.
7 a.m.?
9 a.m. if possible and go to 8 p.m. But I think I'd live with 9 p.m. if it had to be. But I think starting later is better.
Well, I mean, that's always the case, right? But at some point you have to start, right?
Right.
And again, I just want to point out that we are looking to avoid any potential safety situations on the plaza, so that sometimes bringing in equipment early in the morning means that we are actually enhancing safety on the plaza at that point in time for the general public.
The people, if it's that unsafe, there's another way of ingress and egress. I mean, I hate to be saying this, but I really do think that people sleeping for 2 hours in the morning, especially on the weekends and Thanksgiving weekend, is a huge quality of life thing, that it's a huge impact on this neighborhood.
Totally understand.
And
thank you.
And we could use, I'm sorry, Tammy, I think you're speaking too, but we can also take advantage of Allied and Brookfield Security to keep people and direct them. So I love the idea of catching people before they get there, right? And then use these people to direct beforehand. They can go through the Winter Garden and through Brookfield, right? I call it the Winter Garden, Brookfield Place. They can go the upper level pass by the ice skating rink, which I assume will be in place by then. There are other ways to pass than that lower level. And, as a person who's a runner, that's the way that I go. But you're going to have to change it up. So that's fine. And knowing this is happening, people will change up their plans and figure it out. Because I think even for safety reasons, even when the installation's in place, there is just not that much room. It is a huge, 52 feet is huge. So it is taking up a lot of the lower plaza. Anyway, but that's my ask is 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Better if it has to be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for load in and load out. And then the hours of operation are fine. Unless they turn out not to be, which we'll deal with that as that comes. If it's more Eiffel Tower versus falling snow, you'll hear from us, I'm sure.
Don't hold me to that. That was a bad.
I'm laughing. No, I love it. I love it. I love it, Susan.
I'm not PR, I'm production.
All right. Are we good, Nick? You got it?
Yeah, that's actually really
Justine,
helpful.
I have
Thank you.
one
We'll take it back. We'll take it back with the team. So the load in, just so I have it, it's 1 day, right?
No, it's 5 days.
I think I'm happy to take this feedback and
Yeah,
present something. Also, we gave you the maximum window.
Right.
Not every day we're using it. The first day after Thanksgiving is really a layout day, right? We're putting up infrastructure. We're not like building. So I'm hearing the feedback. I think I need to flesh it out more. Maybe we treat weekends different than weekdays. There's a lot of flexibility. These aren't like
would be great.
This to this every single day.
Great.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah, Susan, we'll take it back with our team and yours, and as we continue to work through the permit process, we'll take this under advisement. This is really helpful. Thank you for the flexibility.
Yeah. So no, Nick, just so you know, yes, I'm a whiner about noise, but
no, look,
it was a bunch of days.
Once they get woken up, you're sleeping off the turkey. I get it.
Yeah, right.
We're doing the same thing.
There you go. All right.
Okay.
Justine, if I
Thank
may,
you.
just 1 second. Chelsea, would you send me a copy of the presentation just for our archives?
Yes, absolutely. Coming your way right after this.
Much appreciated.
And Susan, nice to meet you, neighbor. Thank you. Hang on and hang out. Okay.
Are you gonna bump me down to attendee again? Don't kick me out.
Yeah, you're not kicked
Get
out.
out of here.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, everyone.
No, thank you. And Lucian, just so you know, Robin said she only could call in. I don't even know if I recognize her phone number, but she's here. And she had a big hard time.
I think *3 raises your hand if you're on the phone.
Okay.
So Robin, raise your hand on the phone. I think it's *3, and I'll make sure that you're unmuted permanently. There you are.
There you go.
And you just keep yourself muted on your phone until you want to speak, okay?
So yeah, because on the phone you can't get moved over all the way, but you just unmute yourself and then or mute yourself, whatever. You've got freedom.
I can make phones panelists now with the new version. So that's kind of neat.
Oh, okay, cool. There you go. Perfect. All right, thank you. All right, someone else who you might want to make a panelist is Pat Smith, because I think he's going to help me with the next presentation about Local Law 97, as well as Bob Snack.
Sure.
So he's got 2 phone numbers. I don't know which one. Pat, raise the hand on the one that you want us to put you in. I see 2 names. So one's probably your computer and one's your phone. Maybe one is gone.
I'll move both. It's not
Okay, perfect.
no problem for me.
All right.
So just unmute yourself with whatever you're using.
Perfect. And then, so let me do a little introduction as Lucian puts it up. So now we're going to put number 3 on the agenda. Sorry, I took it out of order. We're talking about Local Law 97 and what it means specifically for Battery Park City, because we're the Battery Park City Committee. But of course, Local Law 97 and the state version of it applies to every building in New York City. And bottom line is, we're trying to address climate change. The city, the state is trying to address climate change and trying to make our buildings less of a pollutant for the city and the city state world, right? So as a concept, great move. As a reality and as its implementation, it's really complicated. And I would like to start the dialogue about what is Local Law 97, and we can go on from there. So this is relevant actually to businesses in Battery Park City, rental buildings in Battery Park City, as well as condo buildings. Now, of course, the rental buildings, it's not the individual renter's problem, but depending on how much it costs to upgrade, right, it may become their problem. All right, so I'm going to ask Pat Smith first because I think he's got a brief presentation, and then Bob, I'm assuming you're going to have comments and input, so please be prepared. Go ahead, Pat.
Justine, thank you, and thank you to the board members. And I want to thank Bob and I want to thank Betty for the great work they've done alerting us to this situation. Betty has circulated a list of the buildings in Battery Park City and what their Local Law 97 energy grades are, where they're going to be in 2025 and where they're going to be in 2029 and when they're going to start paying penalties. I don't pretend to be an expert. I will tell you that my building has a B. And New York City's consultants have said we are good at least through 2029. And Justine had asked me to tell you how we got here. So Battery Point is 152 units, a fairly small building, and it was built in 1987. In the last 10 years, we replaced our heating system with a modern, more efficient heating system. We turned to NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, and NYSERDA plugged us in. They have a list of certified consultants. You pick a consultant from that list, you work with that consultant. They tell you what you should be doing. And obviously they're being paid for this. So we got a new heating system. That plant was about $110,000. NYSERDA paid us about $50,000. We recovered the balance in energy efficiency and using less gas, probably in 4 years. We moved on. Like many of the buildings here, there are PTAC, heating and cooling systems, under every window. We formed a committee. We got great input from one of our unit owners, Helene Paul, who was in that business. And we were able to come up with our specifications. We were able to solicit bids. And this is for group purchase. The unit owners have to buy their own P-tax. But we found a contractor that satisfied our needs, that we had a comfort level with their performance level, their qualifications. We negotiated a group price, and then we had a couple of very productive meetings with our unit owners to explain the pros and cons. And 75, we ended up buying about 75 P-tax out of a total of about 300. So again, and that worked out. And since then, other people over the years have gone back to that and continued to buy P-tax. So we've been upgrading the unit owners' heating and cooling systems. We then did the same thing for window replacements. Again, you get old in your building and your windows start to leak. And we found a good contractor. We found a good group price. And again, we solicited our unit owners to go to that contractor and to get that work done. So another energy efficiency. Then we replaced our domestic hot water system. That went online in 2018, about $72,000. And I don't have my fingers on it, but we got some money from Con Edison for doing that. Then we had a project to redo our hallways. And everyone, I think every 15 or 20 years, redoes their hallways. Redoing that, again, Melinda Orley ran that program, and we got everyone to, trying to make my phone stop. We replaced all of our hallway lights with LED lights. And we did that, and we did other lighting in public areas throughout the building. And again, another energy efficiency. So beyond that, Earl Noon, our resident manager, is very, very strict about good maintenance, keep things running clean, keep things running smooth. This is how we got to a B rating and got to the level that we've achieved. So there was no magic bullet. And again, this was a bunch of people, except for Helene's insight into P-tax. Nobody had any special expertise in this area. And that brings me to a sadder part of this chapter. In 2013, I met with the Battery Park City Authority chairman and suggested to him that the Battery Park City Authority bring in a consultant, either a per diem or a staff person who could come around to the individual condo boards and inspect their buildings and say, this is what you should be doing. This is what it's going to cost. This is the payback in terms of efficiency. And here are the sources where you can get city, state, federal, or utility company money to help you pay for it. So you're an expert, because I'm not an expert. And we didn't have anybody in our building who was an expert. We kind of did this using common sense, but we could have used some guidance. And whether we should go to solar, whether we should go to geothermal, what other measures we could be taking to become efficient. And I have been to every Battery Park City Authority administration since then. And everyone says, hey, great idea, we'll take a look at it. No one's done it yet. The authority launched they claim, a substantial sustainability program 2 or 3 years ago. The condo board representatives were asked to come to meetings, asked to participate. And again, I kept making the same point. The secret to this is getting the condos to be more energy efficient. And the way to do that is provide us expert advice. And people have been telling us, been telling me anyway, since 2013 that they're going to do this. Well, guess what? They haven't done it yet. And that's why you're listening to a dummy like me instead of an expert from the Battery Park City Authority. And that's why you've all got C and D energy ratings. So I hate to be harsh, but those are the facts. Now, New York City has come up with an agency, an organization that's supposed to do the thing I've asked the authority to do, and that is Accelerator NYC. So I've had some contact with them. They've been responsive, but nothing's happened yet. And I don't know. You know, this is another city agency. It might be good, it might be bad. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping for some guidance, whether we should try a solar installation or not, whether it would be effective or not, what other measures we can take. So that's the history at Battery Point. That's the sad history with the Battery Park City Authority. And with that, I thank you for the time.
So much, Pat. Sorry. I'm doing one thing. All right, so I'm gonna look. I see that, I think it's Robin, who is a call-in user with the phone. Is your hand raised, or you just had it raised when we moved you over?
It might still be raised for when I moved her over.
Okay,
I'm gonna put
probably.
it down now because she's a panelist.
She's a panelist, so she can just talk and unmute herself if she wants to. I appreciate raising the hands. Pat, thank you very much. I am sure that Bob Schneck has something to say, and then I will open it up to the group for comments, and would also probably assume that so funny. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm getting too many text messages from people saying they can't get in. Not being distracted by texts. But then I'll open it up to the full board and then the community. Bob, do you want to say something?
Sure. Just in support of what Pat was saying, I have 3 or 4 months into trying to get a contact at NYSERDA, and I thought for tonight that Lucian would manage to get one for us, and we didn't get one. That's a disappointment. But I just wanted to say for myself, as a member of the community board, I want to involve myself anyway and invite others to be involved with the best projects we can do in this neighborhood that make the biggest difference in the world. And I really think that I've always thought that we should work together as a larger community, and all of us should do what Pat was talking about, which is work together with the same expertise and kind of everyone learning at once and learning from each other rather than competing. So that's what I wanted to do from the beginning of this. I was very involved with even the setup of the accelerator, but I've been disappointed in their, just like Pat, you call them up and you don't get much of a response all the time. In any case, the first thing I think is that we really have to work together as a unified community. The next thing is that at least to my conscience, climate change, but let me get rid of this. Climate change is the crisis of our generation, and we really have to act. If we expect the people in Glasgow to act, we're just as responsible. It's a place where global things are local and we are local, and we're in a better position in terms of education and placement and working together than almost anybody on earth. This started out for me. I knew Costa Constantinidis, who unfortunately is no longer with the council, and he really set up Local Law 97. So I was looking for an apartment, and I wandered around Battery Park City, and I was looking at scores, and I was asking the question, what do they mean? And I noticed that our building, which is Liberty Court, has a D. I said to myself, you know, that's going to mean a lot of money. It's going to be a very expensive matter to move up from a D to a B and so on. So how do we do that? What's great is that Pat actually went through a disciplined. The first thing is that he had a disciplined building from the beginning. The second thing is he made a disciplined approach that took him years to get it done, and it kind of moved in stages. I think that was really great, and I think also that I started out by trying to identify the best engineering firm for working with Battery Park City. And I found one engineering firm, and I wanted to call them into a meeting with Battery Park City Authority, but I didn't quite succeed in that. But at least the idea I had, which was treating Battery Park City as a single unit, financing it as a single unit, using the same engineers, putting together all the scores and comparing them, all that was which Pat was talking about. All of those things I've been working on for a while. And so the important thing, though, for all of us is what can we do to stop climate change? There's two parts to this. One is defense, and that's spending money on building protections along the coast against sea level rise and storm surge. But then there's offense against climate change, which is stopping it.
Yeah.
The idea of improving our buildings performance actually is about stopping climate change. And
Right.
I'm sure that it's, at least in my heart, it's more important to stop climate change than it is to keep adding to it and making it worse. So the sooner we shoot it down, the better. And we can, because we're Battery Park City, because we're Lower Manhattan, we can be a model for the world on how to do this right and how to get the project done in a way that'll really be really fulfill a really important goal, which is what does it mean to build back better?
Yep.
If we're really building the city back better, one of the goals should be climate change.
Nick,
So
I mean, sorry, Bob, thank you so much. No, this is great. This is great. And I agree with you. And you've got some really good points. What I don't think anyone disagrees with you. I think the most important thing that I heard from you, and not the most important, a takeaway that I heard from you that kind of dovetails with Pat Smith, is that we would really like to work together as a unit. I think there'll be an economy of scale if we have groups of contractors, groups of
let's not group. I
consultants,
think the
then
idea here
all
is
that. Well, let me finish, Bob. Okay, wait, let me finish, please. So I think that we're looking to the authority. I am asking the authority, and I see that Nick has his hands raised, so I'm going to call on Nick to respond to
but
both.
I didn't get a chance to finish the important part of this. This is the meat of it. Coming up here.
1 minute, Bob, okay? 1 minute to finish the important part.
Okay, the important part is the state of two things. One is in Europe, there's a project called Energy Sprung, and we've gone through a lot of trouble to find a little movie so people can learn about it. I think one of the places where the community board doesn't put in the effort we might is in educating the people what all this stuff means, and we don't take the time. Instead of giving even someone like me a little time, I get cut off. And so I think that understanding the Retrofit New York program, which is a NYSERDA program, seeing that the head of NYSERDA is available to do that, to actually study and present to people the federal, state, city financial sources that are available for these things, the famous bonding capabilities that Battery Park City Authority has to fund this. This is expensive, but there's some real inventions that have happened. And in Europe, they have proven that it's possible to actually create significant build back better jobs and significant build back better industries. So what would happen in this proposal is we'd also look at the possibility of outsource of building in New York the kind of parts and capabilities that are important to doing this. I realize that I'm always going over, but if I had to die of a heart attack, I'd like to die when I finish up. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And no heart attack soon. Go ahead, Nick.
Sorry about that. I was trying to mute myself. Thanks, Justine, and thank you, Bob. So yes, this is all great. There's unfortunately some information being put out there that is not entirely accurate. So I need to respond to that. But then also, more importantly, I think, make sure folks are aware of what we're doing and how they can avail themselves of what we are doing. So as outlined in the Battery Park City Sustainability Plan, which was released last year, 10-year sustainability plan that puts Battery Park City on a path to a carbon neutral 2050. We are and we can and are kind of playing an important facilitator role for the neighborhood by connecting building owners with resources, information needed to retrofit their buildings. Pat and I have spoken about this a number of times. And in fact, we regularly update all the building managers. We went through each building and got a sustainability contact at each of those buildings and regularly update them with seminars, online trainings, programs, different kind of initiatives that they may avail themselves of to learn more about the Climate Mobilization Act. And I should say, if it would be helpful, again, we can continue to bring together those resources, whether through NYSERDA or NYPA or some of the other agencies with whom we regularly work. To that end, what we've also done is this summer, we put out a request for information to all Battery Park City buildings. If you haven't heard about it, you should ask your building manager about it because they all got it. And so far, 24 buildings have responded. And the RFI essentially requested two components of data: your building systems information and the sustainability project information. And like I said, 24 buildings have responded, but I think a couple of more are. Betty Kay, who is great, I connected with Kevin Holston yesterday on another matter, and he said, Betty's after me. I got to get the information to you. I'm doing it. So more information is coming in as we speak. The purpose is for the inventory is to identify high-level opportunities and areas for further exploration to improve building energy efficiency and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Okay. So basically, what that means is, look, we may glean from this information that, oh, hey, looks like there's 3 or 4 or a cluster of buildings here that need to replace their windows. Perhaps there's an opportunity here that we can point them to a program that has a window replacement project. For instance, Con Ed will have certain incentive projects or some incentive programs if you replace your windows for energy efficiency. So examples like that to identify opportunities for buildings based on the information we get. And with the building inventory, we can have kind of a high-level cataloging of building systems and energy use to identify areas that merit further exploration. It can also help align incentives, as I said, and technical resources, and help identify external funding sources for BPC buildings, either individually or collectively, including things like building retrofits, pilot projects, bulk purchasing, or other types of solutions. So we have a lot going on. We are playing an important facilitator role. And what I think is good about the situation is without the Battery Park City Authority buildings, we need to do this anyway, right? This isn't us saying it has to be done. But with us here and being able to kind of collate this information, we are able then to kind of identify economies of scale and different opportunities as they exist. So we look forward to working with you. And as Bob said and Justine, we are all in it together, and we look forward to continuing helping identify the solutions for buildings where they exist.
Nick, thank you. So
Justine, I have the video queued up that Bob was mentioning. It's about 2 minutes.
yeah, let's play it, but I just like to respond to Nick first. So give me a second. So get it ready to go as I'm talking.
Oh, last thing, and I'll just put it in the chat for you, Justine. I'm sorry. So for instance, the Building Energy Exchange is having a Climate Mobilization Act primer session next Thursday, November 18th from 1 to 2. It's online. It's free. I will put it in the chat.
Please put it in the chat so we can
Okay.
share that. So what I'm going to ask,
Go ahead.
So number one, I know about the 10-year sustainability plan and the carbon neutral. I'm aware of, I've been involved obviously, so I'm aware.
Oh, it's been great.
That. You guys have been talking about this stuff. Where I see that there's a disconnect perhaps, and I think we've talked about this before, is between the management, what do they call the management companies of the buildings and the boards of the condos, for example. Because Matthew's sitting right next to me on the board of our building, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, not in a bad way, but he's like, I'm not aware of that. So it's a disconnect, and I mean, there's reasons why. There's issues, and whatever. So no shade.
No, I'm
here.
gonna add you to my list. You're gonna start getting my like I don't get enough emails from me. You're gonna start
Right,
getting my
yeah,
sustainability newsletters.
So I guess what I'd like to say, and Pat Smith can, as president of the Home Rulers Coalition Negotiating Committee, can veto what I'm saying right now. But I would ask that in the future, as you're making like that email that you're talking about the meeting coming up next Thursday, as you're sending those notices out to the management companies and the board, I would say send it out to board presidents and the different boards and the homeowners coalition in general, and we'll have our secretary send it out as well. Not that we're getting involved yet. We're not sticking our 2 cents in, but we can at least be more disseminators of information.
Thank you.
Is that fair? That's what my goal here is that
great.
I hear from Pat that he's been hounding it. And when he started this in 2013, it was not you were not on duty. So, but I do know that he's been talking about this for a really long time, and getting a organized and united front, I think, is what's going to help us. So that's what I'm going to say. Betty, do you want to
agree. United.
United.
We're in
Yeah,
it together.
thank you.
We're not at odds here,
Yeah,
guys. We're all on the same team.
That's good, and I'd like to keep it that way. Betty, your hand is raised. Do you want to go before or after the video? Unmute yourself and do it and speak if you want to. I can't see your face.
No, show Bob's video.
Okay, thank you. So I couldn't see your face if you were talking. It wasn't on my screen. All right, show the video. Thank you,
Could
Lucian.
I have a position the video of what it means, what energy strong means, and how it got here?
Does it explain itself in there or no?
Absolutely not. This
Okay.
movie is was made in Europe. There was a better, simpler one that happened to be by PBS, but there's copyright problems with it, so we couldn't use that. I expected that we would have a representative from NYSERDA here to
We're
help
hoping for
position
next
this.
month, Bob, as you know. So
But
let's
Energy
go.
Strong, just to explain what it means, is that Europe has been working harder and longer and at more depth on how to solve these problems than we have in this country. And in Netherlands, they came up with a project that allows them to retrofit all of the buildings in their country, and they have plans for how to do that. And the important thing is that, and I've been doing and building personally passive houses for the last decade. In these exercises, the most important thing is to have plans for each building from one end to the other. So you do the things in the right order and they're all complete. The way the local law 97 is done, it doesn't do that. So this kind of jumps ahead to where we should have started when we did local law 97. And Energy Sprung is a company that brings together all of the resources, all of the engineering resources, all of the finance resources, all of the manufacturing resources, all of them together. And it has a very significant invention, which is a very small device that can be put on the top of buildings that replaces the water heater, that has very efficient energy producing devices, and it has a very efficient program in a computer that kind of runs it for the building. So all of this is integrated, and importantly, when this thing is installed, it's on the outside of the building, so you can do whole niger projects without removing a single family. So it's probably the state of the art. And we have a project in Brooklyn called Casa Passiva, which is being accomplished and is very economical. And so that's, I hope, enough to position what the Energy Sprung project is. This is a 2.5-minute video.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Lucian, play, please. Thank you, Bob.
Sure. And then I'll talk about the NYSERDA update after.
I can't hear it. You have the
buildings is about 25%
Can you go
of all
back to the
energy we
beginning with
consume
the
in Europe.
sound?
It provides us with hot water. This energy comes largely from fossil fuels. If we look closer, we see that the energy we use in our buildings is about 25% of all energy we consume in Europe. In a winter month, that can be even half or more. At the same time, we live in homes and neighborhoods that do not meet current and future standards of living. How can we solve this? The initiative Energy Sprong has come up with an idea. They developed a method to transform existing houses into net zero energy houses. Net zero energy means that the house annually generates as much energy as it needs for heating, hot water, light, and household appliances. This is possible by the use of new technologies. By using off-site manufactured components, people don't even have to leave their homes. The transformation is done much quicker. After a makeover, the house not only looks good and feels comfortable, it even comes with a long life warranty on both the energy performance and indoor climate. This all sounds great, but who's going to pay for it? Money that you'd normally spend on your energy bills, combined with reduced repairs and maintenance costs, pays for the retrofit. Thousands of people in Europe already enjoy more comfortable living conditions without an increase in costs of living, and more retrofits are taking place every day. How do we make this work? A group of housing organisations initially joined forces to create a first market. Simultaneously, adjustments in some regulations are made to make scale possible. At the same time, financial institutes evaluate this new retrofit approach to provide affordable financing to homeowners. Energy Sprong's independent market development team coordinate all the activities to make sure that each of the required market conditions will be fulfilled. So now, innovative companies can invest in and develop these scalable net zero energy matrix, focusing on driving performance up and driving costs down. Because we all share the same home, we need retrofits that get rid of fossil fuels, scale quickly, and create warm, desirable, affordable homes. Let's start today.
Okay.
That was really great. Go ahead, Lucian.
Yeah. So for NYSERDA, I've been engaged with NYSERDA for a couple of weeks. They would like to meet with a couple of leaders behind this initiative with the committee first, with a smaller huddle before they come to the meeting. So that's effectively the update. So they're happy that we are interested in this program, and I think that my sense is that they may want to see how Battery Park City's building stock may compare with some of the retrofit NYC programs that are current in progress. But that's my educated guess.
No, that makes sense. And maybe if we have that meeting, maybe someone from the authority should be there, because what I heard in that 2 minutes was having a community that's getting together and doing exactly what Pat Smith said, but doing it on a large scale, and what Bob said, doing it on a larger scale and having everybody work together. So I think that's really important. And I think that the authority has a really great role to play in helping us do this, because, you know, they built in the, what is it? How many green buildings did you guys build and paid for them in the north, wherever the heck they are, north, south, any place in Battery Park City? You guys built that. You were the leading the way in energy efficiency and you know, kind of energy efficient buildings. Let's keep it going. Betty, do you want to speak? And then it's already at 7:45. Not rushing you, Betty. Just saying, your turn.
Yeah, well, one, I want to say that don't worry about the green buildings, because I live in one of those and they have horrible ratings. So let's stick with just the laws. And I know we're talking about local law 97, but in fact, for those who are new to this, it is a whole suite of laws. There are probably, what, 6 to 8 of them, Nick, were passed?
Utilization, yep.
Yeah. So there are multiples of them that you should be aware of. And so for the talk that's going to be done, if you're saying it's going to be this week, I went to that. It really is very good. I would encourage people to go to to find out what all these laws are and how they fit together. For those who can't go, I have a downloaded copy of the slides.
Oh, that
I'd
would
be
be
happy to
great.
share with you.
Share, Betty. That would be lovely.
Yeah, no, it's very informative and really prepares people. My comment more to Nick for the authority, because he's been very helpful. When he told me about the resiliency page and I looked at it again, I looked at it with very different eyes and realized how much the authority is really put out there. I'm not surprised in that Catherine is really big on this. So for her to push it wouldn't surprise me. But the one thing I wanted to talk about was the PACE loans, because part of it is, you know, the structure, because that was one of the other laws that was in this suite of laws, it was a way of having the property assessed clean energy or CPACE for residences that would be eligible for lower cost loans to do the work until you pay back, and hopefully your utility bills go down enough that you somewhat become, that generates the money to pay back the loans you have. Anyway, they get paid back on your property taxes. But since we have pilot versus property taxes, are we even eligible for PACE loans here in Battery Park City? That's my Nick question.
Excellent question, Betty. Let me find out for you. That's easy enough. Let me say, it seems to me that it might be an easy enough answer to get, but that's an excellent question. Let me check with the sustainability team here. We have an entire team, and
Okay.
I will get you back.
Great, because that is one of the big pieces of this suite of legislation is
Right.
we have this mechanism for funding what the building's going to have to fund. And so if we're not eligible because of pilot, buildings need to kind of know that in advance. Everybody else, I strongly urge you to go to your building managers and ask them what they're doing.
Yeah.
This started because Nick was telling me about turning back these reports that they asked for. And I said, why didn't my building turn one back? And he said, we don't have the capability of doing that. We have hired an engineering firm to do it, but they haven't come yet. So I found out, and that's what I've been really pushing them with what they're going to do and how, and where they enrolled in the training, because it's CUNY that has the training programs for architects and engineers as well. So New York City has set up a lot. So the state does its own thing. New York City has to meet state standards at a minimum, but they don't have to stop there. So I'll be interested what New York State says, but I'm a lot more interested with what the city agencies and city programs have to say, because that's what we really have to meet.
Betty, that's great.
So for those who are interested, and for Nick, I think I sent it to him,
Yep.
I looked at all the 2020 scores for buildings, and I pulled all the 2021 buildings out of the Department of Buildings. Interestingly, some went up, some went down, some stayed the same.
No,
Kind
go
of
ahead.
quirky, but
I think we actually moved up. I don't know why we moved up from a D to a C. At least that's what I saw this morning. But
well, those are the questions to ask your building. What did they do?
yeah, this is great.
This is great.
So
This is great.
So these are the kind of conversations that we don't necessarily have to have at the Battery Park City Committee meeting, but these are the kind of conversations we need to have. So let's keep it going, and I appreciate everybody talking. I think next month we're going to ask NYSERDA to come, and hopefully between now and then we're going to have a meeting, the smaller meeting they want to have. I just, email me if you want to be there, Nick, if it's possible for you to come too, or somebody from your sustainability team to come, because at the end, at the end of the day, it's a partnership, right? I'm going to have my hand out saying pay for it, but of course, do I ever not ask you to pay for it as the authority? But or not? Maybe CPAC and we'll pay for it. So I guess we can figure it out. If we're entitled to some sort of help from the city, let's take it where we can get it. So part of the things I want to find out.
I'll be there. We'll be there for sure. You know me. I have no problem going to meetings. I
appreciate it. So yeah, this is information finding at this point, and we just have to keep going. All right.
You have a hand up in the
chat. Okay, please call on whomever it is. I didn't see.
Hi, Kelly McGowan. I'm sent a request from you.
Hey, thanks. And just to echo what everybody said, I'd love to see the Battery Park City Authority which you've done a wonderful job, but take even a more active role in helping buildings. Because here's what I see in listening to this conversation. There's going to be a logjam for consultants, engineers, PTAC designers, windows people, and having all the buildings try to negotiate or get in line by themselves it's just not going to be very effective. That video kind of struck this, that whether it's financing, identifying engineers, contracting, negotiating with them, the authority could really help take a much more leadership role in and then communicating with the building residents and the managers, say, get on board, here's your slot, right? Because everybody's going to be in the same position, right? And Pat Smith went through this struggle, but we don't have to do this 26 times, right? And given whether it's funding from the city, maybe it's an issue with the pilot programs or not, but we have the ability to finance this ourselves, but we don't need every building to finance it. We can do it through the authority, right? So that's my two pieces. And the Battery Park City Neighborhood Association would love to help you with this. So.
Yes, I would invite, and someone from the Battery Park City Neighbors Association, someone from Gateway Plaza if they want to be there. I think it should be a broad range of people that are part of the discussion. Although I don't know if Gateway cares because they're not paying for this, so that I may take that one back.
Well, somebody at Gateway cares, right?
Well, yeah, Lefrak and the owners of it, right? So yeah. But anyway, thank you. I tell Mission if you have any other hands up that are new. If not, I want to close this topic and move on to the next one.
Justine, I add, and thank you, Kelly, for that and for the conversation. So yeah, that's exactly the idea, to try and identify opportunities. I have to say, though, to set expectations, that we can't commit to the authority paying for the retrofits of all the individually privately owned buildings, obviously.
Why not, Nick? Come on.
Can't do it, Justine.
Justine,
I know you're gonna ask, and you know what the answer is gonna be. But
Justine, can
I
I
don't
leave
fault
you
you
with
for
one
asking.
lip?
But I will get you. I'm sorry, but we will continue the conversation, identify these opportunities, and Kelly will get you plugged into the updates that we send out, including the programming and other opportunities we have for funding as they come up. More to come, but exciting.
Justine, can I leave you with one last thought?
Yes, sir.
Not to be a capitalist, but it's private property, and you have to. Lefrak is going to decide what he needs to do with Gateway, and God knows he can afford the experts to come in and guide him. Brookfield knows what they have to do, and they'll get their experts. The individual condo buildings, at the end of the day, the boards of those condo buildings have to decide what steps they're going to take, have to approve a budget every year and decide what they're going to charge their unit owners. These are tough decisions, but I don't know a way to do it collectively. It's got to be done building by building. We cannot wave a magic wand and have all Battery Park City go green. You're in your building, you have your own contractual obligations you have to deal. So that goes back to my point that we need someone who can provide building by building guidance and enough promises that it's going to happen. Enough, we need that. Thank you.
That makes sense.
Can I follow on? Can I follow on?
2 seconds, Bob, because we got another important topic. And then
I understand. What I would say is that the way that you can improve the case for all of the buildings and all of the condo boards is we have to act in unison, so we drive the costs of doing this down.
Yes.
The cost of windows would be less. The cost of insulation would be less. The timing of
Correct.
installation would be less. All of that's possible if we do the thing at scale, and we can. I think the Battery Park City itself is of the right size to build enough scale to actually do some savings, and then we have to work with the city itself, which has some very wrongful codes. Otherwise, we wouldn't be building those very tall buildings that are very terribly designed. It's because there's so much pressure on getting the right laws, and we don't have them right now. including local law 97. So that's my
I appreciate that. And
40 seconds.
to kind of put together what you and Pat said.
So I
Yes,
can make a little presentation out of this, and I'll give it to you as a PowerPoint.
appreciate it. But yeah, what Pat said, yes, every building is different, but at the end of the day, every building's going to need a little bit of something. And so economy of scale is going to come into play, and we need the authority to be our general contractor as far as I see it. But again, we'll see what happens. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate everybody's comments. Appreciate everybody's time. One more major issue to talk about, and then we'll move on to the security in Battery Park City, which is also an issue, apparently. But the thing I'm going to talk about next is number 5. And one thing I call upon this board that the time is right to be doing is to come up with that, so that we can just talk about it now and then come up with next month a resolution that we can quickly put together and pass, calling for a resident majority on the Battery Park City Authority Board. And whether that's calling for legislation or just calling for the governor to do it, or a little bit of both to see whatever happens first. You know, it needs to be done. We're having an opportunity now, and the reason why time is of the essence, I think, is because our esteemed chairman, George Sunis, has been tapped on the shoulder to become the ambassador to Greece. He still has to go through a oh my God, I am tired and hungry. He still has to get confirmed, a confirmation process. So it's not guaranteed that he will be the ambassador to Greece, but it's a process. And considering the strong likelihood that he will be approved, we will have an opening on the board. That's one. I don't know who else on the board is coming up for whose term has expired, so there may be more openings, but I do think we need to get in line and be loud and vociferous with our new governor that we need local representation on the board. So with that said, one of the things that Lucian and I were discussing earlier today about it is some of the frustration that I've had with the appointments to the board. Today, we already have 2 local residents on the board. Those local residents are not in tune at all with what is necessary for affordability in Battery Park City. I think we need to have people who are not, I mean, the tip, and I'm not accusing anybody who's appointed on the board now of anything, but Nick's laughing at me. But typically to date,
It sounds like it, but go ahead.
I know, but previous governors have appointed large donors, right, to the board. That's usually the process of a board appointment. You're a large donor, you want to be given a thank you, here's your board appointment, and they do good work. I mean, the Battery Park City Authority does a good job, so I do think so. I like them. They are a master that I am happy to be reporting to, even though I do complain about them all the time. That said, I think we need to look at the fact that affordability is a huge issue in Battery Park City, whether you're a renter or an owner. And I just don't think a board of people who are how about this? Because this is Nick, I think I'm not Nick, Lucian, I think you said I could phrase it this way. I don't think a board of people whose reported annual income is over $200,000 a year can appreciate and understand the day-to-day life of someone who is making less than that. And I don't think the decisions that they're making take into account to affordability in Battery Park City. And that's my position. So I do think that I throw that out to my board, and I expect to be hearing comments, maybe good, maybe bad. But that would be one of the criteria. Besides more residents on the board, I guess I want some middle class or people who make under $200,000 appointed to the board. You've got real estate people, you've got lawyers, you've got doctors, you've got very smart people who make under $200,000 a year. You've got people in public service. I know some of the issues that were raised in years past, because I've been doing this for way too long, have been, oh, well, we need people who are, developers. We need people who've got expertise in this area. We need to have lawyers. We need to have this and that. Okay, yeah, maybe. But I'm not telling you to not do any of those things. I'm saying that, yes, we need local representation, and you need to get a broader cross-section. Because according to the census figures from 2019, which is the last census figures, just for the owner occupied, if I broaden it out to the rentals, it's an even larger number. but in my head, because I've been doing this for other reasons, 54% of the people in Battery Park City who live in their own and live in their apartments make under $200,000 a year. 54%. A lot of people to choose from. Throw the renters in there, and that number is going to go up because I think it should be a renter as well as an owner. And that's my spiel. Board, anything to say about it? I see, Nick, is your hand still raised? I don't know if I'm calling on you right now, so no, right now. Not on this one.
Sorry, that's not for me to say
Ye-
either. So let me take my hand. Sorry.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. But Bob, your hand is raised. Anybody else have some input, please? I see Bob's hand is raised, but I don't know if he wants to speak.
I just wanted to say that I think that this is a really important issue to work on, and I just had the experience of shopping for and purchasing a second apartment in Battery Park City, and the financial conditions forced me to sell the other one. There's no way I can hold on to it, even though I can afford it. So the condition of expenses for people who aren't multi-millionaires just are impossible. And so one of my best friends who worked as at the poll site is leaving because they just can't afford it. And this has been going on for 5 years. And so I think it's a really important thing, and I'm really glad the committee's taken it on.
Thank you. I think it is too. And like I said, I'd love the committee to get involved in this because it is an important issue that's facing all of us. Is anybody in the attendee section, if there's no one on the committee who wants to speak? Or Robin, your hand is up. I will hear from you, and then I will call on the yeah, I see Kelly. Good. I was expecting to see your hand raised. So after Robin and Sarah, I will call on Kelly.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. I just want to say there's a new administration coming in, as we all know.
Yep.
And the comptroller is Redlander, who is a pretty lefty kind of guy. He represents in the council and has for some years Park Slope, which is a neighborhood that has become incredibly gentrified and very expensive. I don't know whether he will be sympathetic to us as a community of people that is diverse in terms of their economic capabilities. Certainly, he's going to be looking for the monies that Battery Park City typically provides, but there may be some interest, on his side, and this is just, my thought on it, in hearing from the community, the grassroots community, and the people that you're talking about who earn under $200,000, who are here, who've been here for a very long time, and may not be able to afford to stay here because of the obligations that Battery Park City Authority has to the city and others who look to us for support. So I think it's something we should talk about. I'm happy to talk offline about it, but I think we need to consider, the incoming administration. So
Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And also, to be fair, the idea here, this is truly for representation on the board because things along the line of no more condo or co-op conversions are an issue. Being aware of where the affordability in terms of affordable rental housing is, where it's being lost, and how to address that. There's just so many issues at stake, whether it's Gateway Plaza that's going to be gone as an affordable housing place in
9 years.
9 years. I was going to say 8, but it's 9. I mean, there's a lot of issues here that just have nothing to do with ground rent. Okay, so I guess my world is ground rent for a long time.
The whole negotiation that we went through, as you know,
yes,
was unfortunately, to use the vernacular, it was a shit show. And unfortunately, those that were representing us, could not really stand up to the other side, which has years and years and years of experience in negotiating. And
Yes.
the team was new, and can't blame them for being new. It's unfortunate that they didn't try to recruit people who knew more. But anyway, it's done. Whether it can be redone
Yeah.
is unlikely, but I think going forward, calling on the resources, the possible resources that we have, is really important because the future of this community depends on it.
It
So,
does, because this will be a very different place in 10 years.
yeah, well, absolutely. So
Very different place.
that's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Robin.
Christine.
Sarah, you have your hand raised, then we'll go to Kelly.
Yeah, I was going to make the exact same point Robin made, that Gateway will no longer be affordable. It already is starting to, people are already leaving. So affordable apartments, I just don't see anybody really caring at all about it, as far as the Battery Park City Authority or the state government, or actually the city government. I just don't see it. They, I understand there's a huge homelessness problem. I know that NYCHA needs lots of funding to bring their buildings up to standards, but we have been, and I believe we're conceived as, a mixed community. A community that was supposed to be affordable, and where people who work in the city and for the city could actually live. And we're losing that. And I believe it may be almost gone. That's my point.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Appreciate it. Kelly. Yeah, unmute him, Lucian, please.
Hey, thanks.
No, thanks, Kelly.
And so I'm not going to dwell on the affordability issue, because it's preaching to the choir and redundant. I think we all support that. What I want to talk about is this in terms of the creation of the Battery Park City Neighborhood Association. Really looks forward to working with CB1. We have a board. I submitted an intro paper. I won't read it just in the essence of time, because we've been here for over 2 hours. But one of our first orders of business that we feel strongly about is the revising of the board membership of the Battery Park City Authority, which for 50 years has served really well in the development phase, right? But it has always historically lacked representation of residents. I think there's only 2 residents on it now from Battery Park City, 1 from FIDI. That's great, but that's as the Battery Park City moves from a real estate development problem to a living problem. Like, what do we do with the community for the next 100 years to make it a great place to live? We need to change the reflection of who's on the board to reflect residents and people who are concerned about the people who live, work, rent, own, run small businesses as well as large businesses in the neighborhood. We almost did. We almost successfully got a law passed. We had some back in 2016, Senate Bill 6530. We want to revise that. It's going to be something that we focus on to get that, including the creation of the chairmanship. In our view, we'd love to see the chairman voted by the members of the board. Right? So I think a resolution. We'd love to work with CB1 on the resolution for next month that reflects that, because it's in addition to affordability, there's a whole host of livability issues that we want to make sure keep on the table as as we continue to have a premier place to live, right? And so anyway, that's what I'd like to say, and we're fully supportive of that. And we want to make sure that we can do everything we can help CB1 in drafting that resolution, because it's something that's high on our agenda as well.
Well, we certainly will take your input. I did see your, the notice you sent in today. If you send it to Lucian, that would be great. He can share it with the committee so they see it. Input from the community is always welcome and invited. And again, the BPCNA is great. I'm glad you formed. I'm glad you're involved. And yeah, we'll take the input, and then this board will make the decisions and write the resolution, because we've got to take in the information from everyone in the community that is willing to respond. But I'm not hearing anybody saying they don't want more representation from the committee, the BPCA residents on the board. So I don't think that's going to be the argument. We'll see. We'll see. We'll talk about it more. And I so appreciate your input on all topics tonight, Kelly. Thank you. Anybody have anything else they want to add? All right. Attendees, anybody raise your hand? Yes, no, maybe? And Kelly, are you done? I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you short if you weren't done.
No, that's all I have to say for this, because I think well, the one thing I would say is that if we fix the representation issue, I think many other issues, and this is the only thing I'd say for people who weren't involved that we all learned over the summer, is that we have an enormous amount of really, really, truly diverse talent and energy focused around the monument disaster that really raised thousands of people's awareness that they need to get involved and not be dealing with things on a crisis basis. And we have this energy, we have this commitment out of literally there were 5,000 people that were relatively active in that, and they care. So it's our job to sort of harness that energy and keep people engaged as we go forward. But we have the energy and the will of people to care about this. If we get the representation issue fixed, we can, I hope, and having lived here for over 30 years, watch this neighborhood go from crisis to crisis, paving over ball fields 3 times to save those poor things. I'd love to see the community move out of that mode and into a more planned, sustainable mode of how to keep this neighborhood great. And that's not to point any fingers at the authority in its current or former incarnations. It's just that one of the things I've said to all my neighbors is that part of the problem that we've had is we haven't done the homework. CB1 has done a lot of. You guys have been carrying the torch for a long time, but now you have literally thousands of people who recognize we have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to stay engaged, attend, and not wait for the crisis to happen. And we're recognizing that, and we're saying that. We saw that in action over the summer to save the Rockefeller Field, and it worked really well. And we want to keep that going. So
that's great, Kelly. And yes, it has been a constant battle to get people engaged. So you all did an amazing feat by getting the engagement this summer. And yeah, let's keep it up. While people are engaged, let's get some stuff done. Because I shudder when they all start backing away again. And it's like, all right. But let's hit, strike while the iron's hot. And thank you so much. Right. So I appreciate it. And stick around and talk. Don't go anyplace, because you may have something to say about the security update. At least I had heard from Pamit about some stuff. So I'd like to make, okay. Yeah, good. Yeah. Patrick Murphy's next with Allied Universal. Patrick, you're up, sir. I think you're
moving Pat. Oh, Pat, you're in? Okay, he's in already. Pat, you can unmute yourself now.
If he's ready, poor guy. Where is he? He usually waits till way later than this to talk. I don't hear you, Pat.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wrong Pat. I was looking at the wrong Pat. Pat, now you're in. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
There I go, I think. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I couldn't unmute. Okay, for the report for October, we ended up with dealing with graffiti. In 2020, we had 2. This year we had 12. Homeless in 2020, we had 14 encounters. This this year, we had 13 encounters with homeless. Lost and found property. 2020, it was at 4. This year, it's at 5. Park rules in 2020 was at 69. For 21, this is 25. Vendors, in 2020, we had 2 encounters with them. This year, for October, we had no encounters and dealing with dogs. For 2020, we had 27 encounters dealing with people. And in 2021, we just had 39 encounters. And any questions?
Yes, sir. So question for you is, and then this is another, and Nick, so pay attention to this question. I got, and I had sent this to Lucian, I don't know if you are able to pull up the pictures. You mentioned graffiti, which is something. What's the deal and what's the lag time between the graffiti being put up and the Battery Park City Authority cleaning it up? And, you know,
Well, what you have to remember is, you know, we're 24/7.
yeah.
So one shift reports it, then the next shift that comes in, they're going to report it, you know, and then, you know, if it happens on the, let's say 3 to 11, it's reported on the 3 to 11. It's going to be reported on the midnight. It'll be reported on the day shift where the parks comes out and they start removing it. So that's.
Christine, I would say that without having an exact minute to it, I would say in almost all cases it's cleaned the next morning.
So
or
like
to begun or begun to be cleaned the next morning.
Yeah,
Which I you know, not to brag, but I think that's probably the best response time you're going to find in the 5 boroughs.
all right. I will report back to the people who have.
But
go ahead.
Ryan, are you still on? Ryan, are you here? Hold on a second. Ryan Torres, who's our new vice president of Parks Operations.
She can tell us, but I don't
to put her on the spot. Let's see if she's still there. Let's see if she can
her.
click back. She's texting me.
She is. Yes, she's here. Her hand is raised in the chat.
Go ahead, Ryan.
As an attendee, so you have to unmute.
Do you see the resources we bring to bear every month to the Battery Park City Committee of Manhattan Community Board 1?
That is step 1. Go ahead, Ryan. I think Lucian has to let you on. There you go. Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah. So thanks, everybody. And Pat always is great in identifying the graffiti. And yes, sometimes it's not until that next morning or late morning that we do get it, but it is a priority where we really try to make it a general rule that we get graffiti off within 24 hours. The technology increases always. It's not just Sharpies anymore. And sometimes it takes a little extra elbow grease or maybe even a repainting, but it does sit high on our radar to get out there and take a look and assess the situation.
I appreciate that. And I also would add to anybody who sees it and wants it cleaned up, don't wait to tell an Allied person or call Allied and tell them or you know, send an email or note to Nick to say, hey, this is happening. And I think, I don't know, Nick, if you were on the,
I don't know if I saw this, but either way, yeah, send it, you know, I'm available all the time, but certainly Allied is literally up 24/7, not the same people for 24/7, but they are on duty all hours. So report it in. They'll get a look at it. They'll get it reported, and we'll get it in the queue to get cleaned.
So yeah, and then I just want to state on the record, because it's important to me to say this, I am not looking for Allied or the police to arrest someone who's doing, you know, graffiti on a pole. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a picture of the graffiti, of what was sent. You know, the little thing there someplace, I can't see it in my phone. But
yeah, we have it. That's on the firebox on South End Avenue.
There you go. Right. So those things, they're all there. Cleaning them.
That's been reported by us.
Perfect.
It's all been reported.
I'm not looking to have anybody arrested for doing that. Right. I think that there are probably kids that are being misbehaving. How's that? But I would not mind Allied telling them, hey, don't do that. If they see it in action, obviously. If they don't see it in action, what are you going to do? But it would be nice to have it cleaned up too. And I guess that's part of what the email that I got was, we pay the civic fees, they should be cleaning it up fast. I think 24 hours is a good turnaround time because, you know, that's fair. So I appreciate that, Ryan. Thank you so much. Kelly, is your hand still raised? And I don't know if anybody on it. I see Robin has her hand still raised, so maybe she's got something to say about this, because the other issue I'm going to bring up, and Bob, other issue I'm going to bring up is the dogs. But I will see what Robin has to say, and then Bob, and then Kelly, if your hand is truly raised.
Thanks, Justine. First of all, Ryan, congratulations. I'm so happy that you got the promotion, and look forward to working with you. It's been a pleasure in the time we did spend together. Second, I was going to talk about the dogs, Justine. If you want me to speak, I'm fine. If you want to,
No, please, you speak. Okay. Speak.
So I think some of you at the authority are aware, but a concern that a number of people have expressed in the community is the lack of compliance with no dogs on park property, and also unleashed dogs. So both at Rockefeller Park and at Wagner Park, our tenant association has gotten complaints. And, there used to be a lot of enforcement of that rule. I think during the pandemic, a lot of things kind of fell by the wayside. That may have been one of them. But Patrick, this is addressed to Patrick and to Nick. Many of us in the community would like to see dog-free areas remain dog-free. And beyond that, dogs that are unleashed should not be. We do not have, as far as I know, an area where unleashed dogs are permitted, except in the dog runs. So I don't know if you can comment on that, or we can step up enforcement on that. I think people have gotten pretty lax. And when I think about the play areas and little kids, running around in the grass and so forth, to have dog waste and dogs unleashed is not a safe situation. So those are my thoughts on it.
Well, and just to comment on it, the dogs are allowed on the hard surfaces. That's number one. Number two, Rockefeller Park, there's a number of people that have service dogs. Service dogs can go with them onto the grass. The service dogs can sit down with them on the grass. I agree, the service dogs all have to be on a leash with the person. Okay. I have stepped up the number of safety ambassadors that are up there. If you look around Rockefeller Park, because of the issue with the kids and the graffiti, there's at least safety ambassadors in that area between Rockefeller, Teardrop, and the ball field, and there's also a rover. We've just deputized 2 more supervisors to add to the peace officer status of the supervisors. So a supervisor is up there, and I also now have a peace officer on certain midnight shifts to try and catch any of these people in the morning, the early hours of the morning, that are doing this. Everybody knows when they do.
That's really great. And the service dog issue is, I know, a difficult one, because what qualifies as a service dog, and people who really need them, I'm sympathetic to, and people that not everybody is an honest broker on that. But it's the dog waste on the grass, where little kids are roaming around in the nice weather. Presumably they get the the luxury of walking on grass. But, with dogs in the area that are, untrained, it's a problem. And, unleashed dogs anywhere, unless it's specifically permitted, should not be allowed. And, I appreciate the work that you're doing, Patrick, and I would just ask that you step it up, because I think there's been, on the part of people who live here or visit here, an absolutely, a desire to let their dogs run, freely. But this is not the community to do it, and this is not the place to do it. So,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
I agree.
I agree.
Robert. Yeah, and thank you too, Patrick. Yeah, letting the folks know that the dog's on the grass, and I know I texted you this morning because I'm such a moron and I could not find the Allied Universal phone number. But so I had to go right to the source.
212-9455-SAFE. You should know that,
I
Justine.
know, I couldn't remember it, but anyway, I found it finally in your report. But it took a while.
Yes.
But it for a half hour on West Thames Park, there was a Dalmatian and another little dog. I don't know what the hell the other dog was, but another little dog running back and forth like a dog run, and it was infuriating because it was like not leashed, kids in the park, and by the time I found the phone number, called Allied, they came out pretty quickly because their office is right downstairs, but I cannot say that I went outside to see what was left on the lawn at the West Thames playground, but that's AstroTurf. So that's even more disgusting than having the dogs relieve themselves on.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
doesn't-
Justine,
it
so can
probably
I
doesn't- Yeah.
and thank you, Patrick, for that. This is you. I would say you'd be surprised to know, but perhaps as a result of this conversation, you're not surprised to know that I spend an inordinate amount of time on dogs.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is people who either don't know better
Yes.
and doing it, or know better and are still choosing to do the wrong thing.
Correct.
So what we are kind of doing is having a multi-pronged approach here, and Ryan's been involved in these conversations, as has Pat and Eric and the kind of the team around here. And it's annoying for our horticulturalists too. They're planting things and there are dogs
Right.
in
And
there.
I get. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, look, as Pat had noted, and it's in my report, Justine, which is still coming up, don't
Yeah.
worry.
Are you going to do your report?
We
You
have
are.
2 new special patrol officers. You recall that during the pandemic, the school that they go to was closed, so we couldn't send new ones through. But now we have 2 newly minted SPOs. They just became SPOs on October 20th. And for the uninitiated, what that means is they have the ability to write summonses and make arrests as peace officers if need to. That's never the goal. Obviously, the goal is compliance, right? And Justine, I'm sure that you might kind of feel the same way. Is we don't want to be arresting people.
In 3 hours.
Right. The idea is to get compliance. So there was an instance this morning where Rosalie, I think, sent us a note where a dog was off leash and an ambassador reminded the person, and the person put it on the leash right away. So at that point, they're doing the right thing. They were perhaps not doing the right thing, but now they are. It is a constant battle.
It is.
If the community board would like to help us get the word out, because we are consistently pushing word out in our reports every month. There is a section that says lawns are open. Please remember, here's where dogs are allowed, here's where dogs aren't, and here's a hyperlink to our BP, A Dog's Life in BPC trifold, which Ryan Torres was instrumental in putting together. Dogs are allowed unleashed only in dog runs. They are allowed on all hard surfaces as long as they are leashed. They are not allowed under any circumstances on grass or lawns or turf or planted surfaces or planted areas. And if it's a hard surface, but it's a memorial, they're also not allowed. So Irish Hunger Memorial has hard surfaces, but you can't have a dog in the Irish Hunger Memorial. We try to make it very clear for folks. At the end of the day, you'd be surprised. Folks will say, and Robin, I agree with you, because the rules are the rules and people should follow them for the benefit of everybody. That's why we have a rules kind of based society. There will also be people who say, well, my dog should be able to go on the grass. You should change the rules in Battery Park City and have one lawn open just for dogs to go on. I don't know that we're there yet or at all, But there is certainly a want for people on the other side that dogs should be allowed. And I think part of that is as a result of a lot of new people getting dogs for the first time while they were stuck inside for 2 years during a pandemic. So, two-pronged approach. Let's continue to help get word out. I will send you some of those trifolds when I get them newly printed up. Ryan is working on that. Lucian, I will put the link in the chat to the trifold. So that's information. Let's kind of get the word out for the folks who may not know better so they're aware. We are doing our new wayfinding installation, which has signage that specifically enumerates where dogs can be. We also want to try to augment that as well to be kind of super clear about no dogs in particular areas.
Nick,
and then the enforcement, I'm sorry, Robin, the last part is the enforcement, right? So we have 2 additional special patrol officers now that can issue tickets for folks who choose to disobey the rule once they are told that they have to follow them. But it is certainly a battle. I got a note from someone the other day who said, "Oh, I see it in Hudson River Park. Even when there are signs, people just ignore them." We
Nick,
have the rules and we want people to follow them.
I think that all sounds great.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but yes.
Signage, you know, a lot of new people have come into this community with dogs and they may not know the rules. And I think increasing the signage about what's allowed and disallowed is important. I mean, I know a lot of people don't look at signs, but it will certainly make Patrick's job easier.
Oh, I agree. It can't hurt, right? It can't hurt.
You know, the restrictions on the dogs. Did you see the sign over there? Dogs are not allowed. And I think we need to step it up because, you know, I think a lot of, you know, unintended consequences occurred after the pandemic, or we're still in the pandemic actually, but you know, I think for those kinds of things which affect quality of life for people who have little kids or quality of life who have dogs who don't want to be around unleashed dogs, you know, we need to do, you know, be more vigilant and do a better job at enforcement. But I think letting people know what the rules are, you know, more clearly and more regularly, whether that's part of the wayfinding or something else, I think is very important. And I would urge you and the authority and parks, you know, I know there's historically an aversion to a lot of signage, but I think in this case, it's important, particularly because there are health issues involved. So anyway, that's what I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Robin. Let's call on Kelly. I think Bob's hand is just raised from before.
Justine, can you repeat that one more time?
Kelly McGowan's hand is raised in the chat. Please.
Okay. You're unmuted now, or you can unmute yourself now.
Sorry, I'm eating.
Hey, thank you. So to echo on my only point I want to make about the dogs is, you know, having lived in the neighborhood through the PEP officer years where almost we had an over enforcement of every rule, which I've now come to appreciate the gentle reminders that we got. My experience and what I hear from people more than anything else is that most of the allied ambassadors do nothing, right? They just sit around and watch on their phones. And in addition to the dogs, which I would agree with, I'm spending more time telling people to not walk their dogs on grass throughout the neighborhood, and I know other people are, is enforcement of other real safety issues of whether it's people on scooters on the promenade, scooters on sidewalks. I have not seen any enforcement, right, of people riding deliveries on e-bikes on sidewalks, literally motorcycle scooters on the promenade, people winning, that give a sense in the community that it's degrading, as with the rest of the city, in its overall safety. And what I hear more than anything else from people is that how come the ambassadors don't do anything? And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to paint the brush on 100% of the ambassadors, but it's the most common observation I get unsolicited from people is, yeah, the ambassadors don't do anything. They just watch on their phone.
Kelly, are they calling the ambassadors when they witness these things?
I have seen some people go over and talk to the ambassadors and say, hey, how come you didn't do that? And I've heard, just overheard, the ambassadors respond, well, there's nothing we can do. And I think generally there's a group of people, whether they're teenagers in the neighborhood or out of the neighborhood, who understand that the ambassadors really have no enforcement. Unlike when in the PEP officer period, they know. So I've watched, and other people have told me that they've watched ambassadors who do something get completely ignored by people who just look at the ambassador and say, what are you going to do about it? Because they can't do anything about it. So
right. So what I'm
not
saying is
sure
that's not true, right? That's not true.
Well,
We
Wait, what's
just
not true?
went
It's
through
not
the
true.
fact that
They
we have
can't do anything
state special
Right,
patrol
okay.
officers who can issue summonses and make arrests. Now again, Justine, we talk often. No, two new ones. We talk often about accessibility and social justice and other things. We don't want to have people arrested or given tickets if we can avoid arresting people or giving people tickets. We want people to comply. Kelly, if there are specific instances that you are seeing, while you can say it in a public meeting, it's fine. Obviously, that's where we're here. We live to serve.
Right.
You and I text all the time. Text me, Nick, here's the time, here's the location, here's what's happening. I'll give it to Pat. Or you can text Pat directly and we'll get someone there. But without knowing the specifics, hearing they don't do anything, it's not something I can do because I can't know that that's true or not. I'm sure that 7 years ago, there were people saying Pep didn't do anything. And I'm sure there are people saying that too much. Right. So give me the specifics, when and where it happens. We'll address it. And if it's something we can't do, we will take steps to see if we can or get it to the right place.
Then let me clarify something.
Yeah.
If they do have enforcement capability, like I agree. I mean, we don't be arresting a skateboarder or somebody, frankly, somebody riding a motorcycle on the promenade. I don't care if they get a ticket. Tough luck. I get a ticket for doing that.
No, that's dangerous.
But
Agreed.
it's dangerous. And I'm not saying that, look, I'm a firm believer that actually actively communicating enforcement is way better than draconian measures, right? And if people, whether it's true or not, if people have the perception that they can ignore the yellow shirts, it doesn't matter whether they can enforce it or not, because then it has to escalate, right?
Right.
So maybe we need a kind of a reset of the communication on what an ambassador can and can't do, so that people know that they can enforce rules. But I have to tell you, I don't think, I see 4 dog walkers in Rector Park a day, and I've never seen one get accosted since the yellow vests showed up. Never. I've talked to them.
Did you call Allied when you see the dogs?
No, I actually go and talk to people, and almost everybody is. Somebody made the comment that there's so many new people in the neighborhood. Almost, I would say 95% of people, when I gently say why dogs shouldn't be on this grass because little kids play on this grass, almost everybody gives me a response like, oh, that's great. I didn't know. I just got the dog, or I just moved here. I didn't know. Right. So I actually think it's as much a communication problem as anything else. Right. So that's the only thing I wanted to say is that whether, in it probably is a situation where if you had 20% of yellow vest ambassadors ignoring blatant violations without even interjecting, you set the stage that it's okay. And I think we all witnessed that. And it's not necessarily something that, somebody is going to take the time or know a number to call and escalate. It may not be an escalation thing. It's a setting the tone thing. And when the PEP officers worked well, that's what they did. Better than anything else. Not write tickets, not arrest anybody, but they set a tone. right? And the tone was more universal. And I think that the ambassadors could do a better job at that. So I might be in a minority on that, but
And I mean, well, let me say this, and Nick, to give it some context, okay? You're hearing this perception from too many people from too many different places to not have it for not, and I don't think you're ignoring it, but it is a clear perception. We've tried last meeting, Patrick explained, you know, the phones, they're on the phones because they're doing the geotagging. There's reasons why some perception looks like they're, you know, playing games on their phones. And then sometimes they actually are playing games on their phones or talking to somebody or whatever they're doing. Or maybe they're on a break, but nobody knows. So at the end of the day, I guess what would be helpful to me, and I think to some of the people on the call and some of the people in the public who are raising the concerns, is to say, yes, we hear you and we'll look into it, is a better thing to say, oh, no, this, no, that. No, hear us. Because what I think at the end of the day, you really mean is we'll go back to Allied, we'll talk to them, we'll see, we'll look at the geotags, we'll see what's going on and what's going on here and there. I think that Kelly raises some really important issues about the teenagers in the neighborhood, the dogs, new people in the neighborhood who don't know. I was waiting for Brittany to come up and talk about the signs and whether she liked them or not, but she's not on here. But it's all right. One day she'll come on and be able to actually come and speak, because I'm not going to speak for her. But I do think that knowledge and communication is power. Battery Park City Neighbors Association, Kelly, help Nick spread his word. What did you say? It was very cute, your phraseology of it's a dog's life, whatever you have.
It's a dog's life in BPC. Yes,
Yeah.
Kelly, if
So
I send you that, if I send you the link, will you email it to your mailing list?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he
yeah.
probably could, and that would be helpful.
Yeah.
And then
And the community board will
Yeah.
also do
So
it,
I think
because I have repeatedly tweeted it out
I
and
know you
tagged
have.
both the community board and the Battery Park City Neighbors Association. So again, yes,
and
we can
I
always do
know that
better. We're all in it together.
Yep.
Please help us spread the word. And
exactly.
please help us remind all of our neighbors who we all love and have to live together with that we have rules for a
Be good
reason. And
neighbors.
please
Yeah,
keep your dogs
exactly.
off the grass.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I think we can all work together on spreading
Okay.
the word. Kelly, you said it when you came on to say how you guys all came together and were active. I think part of the deal is the people who don't pay attention are the ones who are not listening and don't know.
Well,
So
so that's a great idea.
Justin,
Can I just say something? Nick?
yeah,
Can you
Yes.
let me know, give me the words or give me an email of how residents should interact with the ambassadors, what they can do and should do, and what people should do if they see an ambassador? You know, because if it's a misperception that somebody is geotagging and they're not playing a game, well, we'd like to fix that too. So
you know what,
that would be important communication more than the dog issue, right?
Kelly,
Yes, yes, perfect. Pat,
Agree.
I mean, Pat's here. Pat can probably speak to it. I don't want to put him on the
He
spot, but that's where we're here. But go ahead, Justine. I'm
can,
sorry.
but what I'm going to say is there's a few certain people who have done that to Pat and copied me, and it's always the same people who do it. They tend to get ignored because they're annoying. But and I think so, Kelly, my answer to you is what I would suggest is do exactly what Nick says. Have them snap a picture if it's safe for them to do it. Email the picture, which is going to give you a date and a time and a place, right? If you can. And let Pat know. Let Pat and Eric and Nick know. And tell your folks on your list, the more people that respond and send it in, the more likely it's going to be that if it's 10%, 5%, 1%, 50% of the ambassadors, the more likely it is going to get pushed down the line that, hey, no, you can't do this. You need to be active, you need to be engaged. And there's ways to check. So if you got a date and a time and then that comports with the person checking in at a geotag, right? Then that's what they were doing. If you got a date and time and it comports with nobody checking in on a geotag, well, maybe that's not what they were doing. And, you know, everybody works in their job, right? And everybody calls their mother on their job or girlfriend or whatever. So you know, I don't think anybody has to be a jerk about anything. But more communication back and forth is good. And I know when you're feeling scared or feeling like you need the help or support of an ambassador or an agency of law enforcement of some sort, and you can't find one, That's also scary and frustrating
Yeah.
and worrying. So it's both sides. And then at the end of the day, I just have to agree with you, Nick. No, I'm not looking to have people arrested. I am really not looking to have people for minor crimes. This is not like, not the world I want Battery Park City to be. However, I don't want graffiti and I don't want dogs on the lawn. So it's a balance that we're working through.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
All right.
The only
Bob?
thing that I was gonna add was that at the dog parade,
Okay.
the pamphlets were available and given to the organizer to give out to everybody there that came with a dog. So we were trying to spread the word, and we have the pamphlets in our office, a couple of them that are left. I know Ryan's making some more up, and the ambassadors have them on them, and they give them to the people that they encounter that's not obeying the rules.
Sadly, I think the people who are part of the dog association are not the ones who are breaking the
Well,
rules.
I agree with that also,
right?
but
I mean, that's the sad. Not to in any way diminish the effort you made, please.
No, I think you're right. I think, unfortunately, I think there are some people who know better and choose not to do it. Those are the people you want to try to
Or
make sure
knew
that you're
and then
reminding
something.
gently that they should follow the rules for the benefit of everyone.
All right, it's 8:47. Bob Schneck, you want to say something, or can Nick go into his
Yes.
report?
I just want to follow on Kelly really quickly. I just want to say that I've been a resident here for a long time, for the whole history of the ambassadors, and I've never known a single one of them. I had one or two relationships where I'd walk by and they'd wave at me. I walk 8 miles a day on the territory, and I have to admit I know at least 90% of the names on the community board, and maybe 800 or 900 in the community, but I don't have a single relationship with anyone. I don't know a single name of any of the ambassadors, never have over all the years. The thing I wanted to comment on is electrical vehicle operations and the dangers of them. And I have witnessed, I don't know, other people must have witnessed these things, where a real motor scooter is bucking along at 35, 40 miles an hour down the Esplanade, or along when we are near to the ball field repairs. There's so many real motorcycles kind of operating on the bicycle lane, and where you have the bicycle lane, the pedestrians, it's especially dangerous. And one of the behaviors of these bicycles is they come up behind a person, they come within 6 inches of the person's shoulder, and you can't hear them. There's no politeness in any of this. So whereas I think over time I'm going to witness or be involved with a very serious accident with one of these things, I agree that there should be no jail, but some kind of restitution. For example, I've noticed some real skateboard kind of damage every time there's any kind of surface, really expensive granite. They just put their wheels against that granite and have somebody photographing them. And they make big chips. We had at least a $20,000 injury to our building at Liberty Court here, which I'm sure was a skateboard, because only a skateboard would do that kind of damage unless somebody came at it with a hammer. But it was on the edge and had a strip on it. The other thing I wanted to say is we have to develop procedures on how to handle these things. I think that all electrical vehicles should be registered. I think that they should get tickets just like cars. And I think to a certain extent, they should be held to follow the same laws as cars.
I think that's a great idea. Our committee can't do that, but maybe transportation can. At least ask.
Maybe they can. I think it's a long-term issue, and I think we have to work toward insurance, because none of those people, if somebody gets hit, if someone gets hit, who pays for it? And there have been at least 3 deaths from these kinds of things in the city of New York since these things have been put in place. But when I talk to doctors, there's lots of injuries in emergency rooms. So also, I think that we should look at the Wagner Park design vis-a-vis this problem with motor vehicles, because we're going to be having a lot of fast motor vehicles going in lanes with slow people pushing wheelchairs up fairly steep hills, and that's something I was concerned about for a while. So
That makes
also
sense, but
following up
again,
with
not our purview. Go ahead.
following up with Robin's comment on signs, the signs really aren't clear about when you enter that. And so sometimes I see some of these little things out on West Street. I always see them crossing, doing very odd, when the light changes, they can go to any lane possible in any direction, including against traffic on West Street. So there's a lot of work here. I don't know to what extent it falls on the Battery Park City authority itself to help manage it, but by God, it's really dangerous and something has to be done however we achieve it. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Bob.
Well, Bob, you do realize that they changed the law, because I've had the police department up by the ball field to write people for using those bikes down the Greenway and into Battery Park City. I've also had them down around Rector Place writing tickets, and they used to impound the bicycles and stuff, but the law changed. So the police can no longer do that.
Because it's no longer illegal. Is that what you mean in law change?
Before it was okay to own a bicycle that was battery operated, or any vehicle battery operated, but it was illegal to use it on a city street. Well, that all changed. That all changed. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, because of
beforehand, the
Rebel,
police could take it, and now they can't, and they can't write summonses for it.
Got it. Interesting. All right. Thank you, Pat. Okay, so I see Kelly, your hand is still up, but I'm gonna call on Amy. And if you want to speak again, Kelly, I'll give you a minute after Amy speaks. But if you don't want to speak, take your hand down. But Amy, can you Lucian? Yeah, thank you. Amy, you're on.
Belabor the ambassador issue. I just want to make clear, just to clarify one thing. I happen to be the co-president of the PS89 PTA this year, and I'm not calling in that capacity, but it does put me in a position where I really am in contact with the parents a lot, and I hear all sorts of things. And I think it might be really helpful if I could share with you know, residents of at least the school community with young children, what they can do when they see something. What happens is people aren't calling you because they see the ambassadors with the perception that they're doing nothing. Maybe they're making a report on their phone, but I would say it's pervasive. And I have lived here since 2007 in North Battery Park City. So I've been here for a long time, both before the ambassadors and since they've been here. And so I think people, you know, they really feel deflated about the whole thing and extremely cynical, and really perception is everything. So whether it's true or not true that they can and can't do things, what they feel that they see is that they're in a situation with their kids on the lawn, and this happens a lot. And the only interaction they're getting with the ambassadors is when the ambassadors are correcting the children and not correcting the dog owners, for example, or whatever other dangerous behavior might be happening. So if they, and many times people will go and ask an ambassador, but quite frankly, even I've stopped. So who in that moment, not take a picture and email and everything, I mean, that's good too, but who in that moment do they call? I just wasn't clear on that. I heard a lot of emailing Patrick, someone named Patrick and things. I just want to be clear on, in the moment where I see something happening and I don't feel an ambassador is stepping forward to do something, I can either ask the ambassador to help, or I can call.
Yeah, what do they do, Nick? Tell them.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was unmuting myself. Amy, I apologize. Now, what's the specific issue? You're asking an ambassador to do something and the ambassador doesn't do something?
Or she feels as if the ambassador is non-responsive.
What you can do is turn around and call the desk.
Yeah.
The command center desk. That number is 212-945-7233. You call that number. That's the command center desk. All my equipment has GPS on it, so they would call the supervisor. Supervisor would respond to the location, and also probably another safety ambassador that's close by would also respond. If it's something that we would classify as the police should be there, they would also call 911.
Yeah, and don't wait to call 911 if you think it's a police thing, but it sounds like you're talking about more quality of life infractions that still you want to have addressed.
Yeah, look, if it's a performance issue with an ambassador, then we want to know about it as well, right? So we can either retrain the ambassador or get them off the account. I mean, we want to make sure
Fair.
they're out there doing their jobs. But it's a lot easier to work with specifics than it is in generalities, obviously.
Thank you. Both. Thank you. And Amy, did you mute yourself or did Lucian mute you? I know we all want to go home, but if I want to make sure you're finished, Amy, and you feel as if you got a satisfactory answer.
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Thank you. I will spread the word that if people are feeling that it's mainly quality of life issues, and I also want to be clear, I don't think anyone is looking to single out any one ambassador or
Yeah.
to malign them all. I really don't. I think people just want the dogs to stay off the lawn. They just want, not to get run over on the bike path. They just want those things. I personally, that's one of the reasons why I think people are so resigned and then so bitter actually, is because they feel like they don't see the action they expect to see. But we're not looking to arrest people and to get people fired. That's not it either. But we want to feel that I would love to hear a proposal, like to hear some follow-up on this that says, we've revisited these issues in particular. We've heard about dogs and bike paths, for example, tonight. We've revisited those in particular with the ambassadors, and we have empowered them with what they are able to do. And those things are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the steps that they can take. Then the residents all know. And then we know that the ambassadors have been reminded of this and encouraged to please come forward, versus just Patrick knows about it or the guy sitting at the desk in the Allied office. Okay, that's all. So, and I appreciate that, but I really am not looking to single out any one ambassador. Everybody's doing their job. Everybody's trying to do their best. But I think people would feel really happy about the fact that they felt heard. They felt that this was revisited with the ambassadors. And by the way, here's what ambassadors can do: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if it's something beyond that, please call 911. Please call the safety desk.
Right. Exactly.
So thank you.
No, I appreciate it, Amy.
Fairly reasonable to me, Amy. Thank you.
And Patrick, I again will ask, I think you brought it up before COVID at one point, saying it would be nice to have some ambassadors on a rotating basis just show up at these meetings once a month. 1 or 2, I know it's overtime, but, or even, 1 or 2 just for the sake of them feeling, not attacked. but so they hear the comments and they hear the feedback and you can have their back to say, hey, listen, look, and say, well, look, this is geotagging, this is that. But it might be useful for them to see how people are perceiving them. It may not be, you're their boss, you know better, but that's what I would have to say. And with that, I think I'm closing out this topic. It's 9 o'clock.
Could I just,
Bob, really, I'm talking 30 seconds and I'm going to ask Lucian to turn you off because it's late. And and Nick needs to do his report and I owe him full report because I totally spaced on the environmental walkthrough things and I gave him a nasty gram at like 8 o'clock in the morning. So I owe him a full report.
Justine, thank you.
Go ahead, Bob.
when there's an accident, or there's a need for first aid, are the ambassadors trained for that, or do we dial 911, or do they dial 911, or can they actually do some limited first aid and
like
do they have the
CPR or
power to
something?
call an ambulance? So that's my addition. And I really think that's really important because I've seen a lot of that in my time.
There, it's a constant training, but it's CPR and AED training they go through, and they also go through first aid training.
Can
Okay, but
they
if
summon
they,
an
if they,
ambulance?
oh yeah, they, the phone, they call 911. Hey, listen, anytime there's an accident or anybody injured, they're calling the supervisor. They're also calling 911. Okay, and a lot of times it's, they're asking if it's a child, what's your parents' telephone number so we can reach out to them and let them know, hey, your child got hurt in the playground. He's being removed by the ambulance. This is what hospital he's going to.
In it now without being on mute. I know I rushed you, Bob. That was a really good question. Thank you. Nick, you're up. Bring us home. Please be fast. But I'm not going to rush you too much because I do owe you. You're on mute if you're talking, Nick.
Sorry. I said thank you so much. I was telling Lucian earlier, I really went above and beyond this month. I try to make these things works of art because you all deserve it. We want to make sure that we're well represented here and letting you know that we are trying to be as responsive and accessible as we can on the things that we can fix and getting the things that aren't in control to the right places, and also letting you know about all the things that we have going on in this really wonderful neighborhood. So thank you. I'll try to go quick. The first 2 pages, the first page is just a gorgeous picture of some basketball in Rockefeller Park over the weekend. The first 2 pages we can actually skip through because it's not unimportant, but it's a lot of COVID vaccine stuff, which I would hope a lot of people know about, getting your vaccine, getting your boosters, including the CDC, I believe, just announcing yesterday that children as young as 5 can now, I believe, get the Pfizer vaccine. So please continue to get vaccinated, continue to test, and let's continue to beat back this pandemic. So thank you. All the information is there and linked, etc. So Lucian, thank you. So top of page 3, okay? Not only do we have 2 sessions, but now expanded by popular demand, we have the Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency Project workshops, okay? Walking workshops. So we did the first group last Thursday, the 28th. We're doing a set of them tomorrow, the 4th. The link to register is right there. We've just added another one on a weekend, working with the community and at the request. Look, I am very energized to know that people are this energized about resiliency. So if they're willing to come out on a Saturday, we very seldom do work events on Saturdays, any of us, I think. But if you're willing to come out on a Saturday, we are willing to do the workshop. So Justine, Lucian, Terry, please continue to help get the word out. People want to be involved. Please, let's be involved, okay? Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency, we go through with the project team, and we are walking the route of the Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency Project from Western Tribeca, across West Street, North Esplanade, down the Esplanade, all the way down to South Cove. Different sections. You can ask questions of the project team, understand what is entailed in the project, get looped into all the updates that we have coming up for the project. The next public meeting will be in early December, but you'll see there the picture last week. You'll notice a couple of familiar faces, right? So Betty Kay was there, Wendy Chapman, Alice Blank, etc. I'll be there tomorrow. I think, Justine, you'll be partly there tomorrow, partly on the 13th. But these are really great experience to get kind of really a hands-on, direct physical experience walking the project site, understanding what the particulars are, understanding where the water is going to come in, God forbid, if there is a Sandy-like or, God forbid, worse storm, which we are expecting, and how this is going to fundamentally transform the neighborhood unless we take the very important action that we are to make this neighborhood more resilient while keeping the parks as accessible and as open as everyone wants them to be. So it's a wonderful opportunity. Please take the opportunity. Free registration. Come on in. Justine, you already told me you're going to be on the 13th, so I hope it's not just you and me on a Saturday.
Oh, I bet it's a lot of people on a Saturday, but that's all right. If it is, I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
Spread the word. Okay. Thank you for that. And really, thank you for all for that. I know Terry's been helping Kelly's been helping get the word out to the neighborhood association as well. So thank everyone for doing that. It's really a great idea that we had to get this, I think, this level of engagement and people really understanding it. You can sit in a meeting and see a PowerPoint presentation, but when you actually walk the route and see, wow, I understand now the water is going to be up above my head in South Cove. Oh my God, we have to do something. Yes, that's why we're doing our resiliency projects. Okay, top of page 4, BPC Parks Happenings. This is a new section that we have in the report. It may or may not be the brainchild of our new Vice President of Parks Operations, Ryan Torres. I'm going to run through this fast, but if I misstate anything, Ryan is here to back me up. Okay, we're going to do this as a monthly snapshot going forward so folks can kind of understand what is upcoming next in the parks, not from a programming perspective, but the actual daily maintenance that goes into keeping these parks the very best in New York City. Okay, over the course of November, we are planting more than 65,000 bulbs. in the gardens and parks of Battery Park City, so that when you're walking through Belvedere Plaza or Rector Park in the early spring, the reason why these places look so beautiful and lush so early in the season is because we proactively plant these things in November. So they bud early and they keep Battery Park City looking just as beautiful as everyone expects it to be. Compost tea, which is the thing I just learned about. You liquefy the compost and then you spread that across roughly 4,000 gallons is now currently being applied to street trees and other park areas throughout Battery Park City over the course of the month. 4,000 gallons of compost tea. Okay, just a couple of heads up for the community. The irrigation systems in the parks will begin the winterization process toward the middle of the month. So we kind of shut off the hoses and the dog runs and other things like that. So the pipes don't freeze and you have risk of the damage. They're still clean, but they're just not just using the irrigation system. Playground water features have been shut off for the season as the weather starts to get cold. Parks lawns closures, we've talked about this a little bit, but the fences will begin, as they usually are, to be installed toward the middle of the month to allow time for the turf to recover from now a number of seasons worth of heavy use as people have been out of doors. But they will open up as usual in the April timeframe. The Serious Dog Run right by Kowski Plaza, as we know. A few weeks ago, we had resurfaced and repainted the West Thames Dog Run. We're going to be doing the same for Kowski Plaza to repair some of the cracks, the small cracks that appear in the dog run, extending its life. And we are planting new trees throughout Battery Park City. So going back to the way beginning of this meeting, in terms of removing a tree, there are 6 trees being planted this week throughout the neighborhood. 3 on North End Avenue, one of which is pictured at the bottom of this page, and 3 in the southern neighborhood, 1 on Rector, West Thames, and I think along Little West Street.
And Nick, don't forget the leaf blowers. That's responsive to some complaints.
I'm saving the best for last, my friend.
There you go. Yeah, that's
Leaf
good.
blowers.
Kudos for that.
Hey, listen, again, we live to serve. So there were some questions this week about leaf blowers in Battery Park City. And Ryan, thank you for this information. I'll let her take it after this, but as far as we have it, so our leaf blower inventory is currently 25% electric, and we are looking to move up to 60% electric by next spring. So the idea with electric leaf blowers is they're not silent, but in the words of the esteemed Lucian Reynolds, an order of magnitude quieter.
Yes, there you go.
It still helps us kind of clear the playgrounds. Now the question is, well, why leaf blowers at all? And why not 100% right away? And like anything else, life comes with trade-offs, right? So one of the things leaf blowers allows our staff to do is to kind of more efficiently be able to clear some of the areas of leaves and sand, especially in the playgrounds, without having to do it with a broom or on their hands and knees, kind of pushing the sand back into the sand pit, as an example. Without a leaf blower, it would either take us just a lot more time to do that, meaning we wouldn't necessarily get to every place we have to get to every day, which would then necessitate complaints on the other end, which is why my park's not being maintained at the same level I was expecting to be. And then the other thing with the gasoline-powered leaf blowers, which electric don't do, as I understand it, but again, we're going to see how it works. As I understand it, they don't provide quite as much oomph as a gasoline-powered leaf blower. Doesn't mean they don't work. I think it's going to be great, but it may not be, it's generally not as powerful. So we'll have to see, especially when the sand is wet. So again, like anything else, and I want to talk through this with you as a community and as a committee. In exchange, please just bear with us as we make this transition to electric leaf blowers. If there are particular days, if it rains overnight or in the morning, and then the sand can't easily as easily be removed with an electric leaf blower because it doesn't have much oomph, and then I get complaints about why my playground is not being cleaned to the same level as I expect them to be cleaned. Just bear with us because there are trade-offs.
Let's work with it and see if you get more complaints about the unclean playground or the noise.
Right.
And we are working, like you said, towards I wrote it down somewhere, carbon neutral by 2030. And this
fits with that. And Ryan is a real champion. So good, Ryan. I'm sorry if I stole any of your thunder, but do you have anything to add to what I said, or did I mess anything up? Ryan, you still there? I think. Oh, Lucian, I think she may be muted.
All right, hold on. I got to open up some different windows to get back to that screen. Hold on.
No worries. And thank you. If I misstated
Yes.
anything, she's so much smarter than me,
I'm
so she'll correct
I'm
me. Go ahead,
here.
Ryan.
No, not smarter. You said it all, Nick. Our goal is to be sustainable. Our goal is to get to 100% electric and find the best ways to keep the parks maintained and do a job in a timely fashion. And as technologies become more, efficient with the electric equipment, we're definitely going to be moving in that direction. But we definitely did a good purchase just last fall of some electric equipment, and we're going to continue to do that. And definitely work towards those goals, maintaining the parks the way that everybody expects in a sustainable fashion.
Thank you, Ryan. So Lucian, we're just going on here, and thank you for that. We can not necessarily blow through it, but move through the rest of this fairly quickly. So top of page 5, we have our November programming. Obviously, with the daily programs happening each day, you have the guide there, and obviously this report will be up on our site as it always is.
The senior exercise group is back. Very cool.
Yes. Oh, actually, that's a very good point,
cool.
and thank you for bringing that up. We are now beginning to start doing indoor programming again. Obviously, proof of vaccination required, as is it's across the city. But we are now starting to do some events indoors at 6 River Terrace. So slowly but steadily, we are
So
kind of trending upward.
The seniors, right, though, Nick? Because I know that everybody's dropping off like flies.
Yeah, no, I spoke with Marianne about it.
Okay, good.
And we actually moved the program indoors, I think, last Monday for the first time because it got a little cold. So far, so good.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. All right, so scrolling down, just a couple of highlights coming up to the next page, Lucian, is obviously we have our virtual film series. We have City Harvest and the Holiday Food Drive coming up. We have the gift drop-off running from the end of November. And then we have Holiday Lights, obviously, which is a seasonal favorite on December 2nd. Okay, the next blood drive, top of page 7. Battery Park City has been like a pincushion in terms of donating blood, and we can't thank you enough for all the donations that the community has made over the course of the past year. 400 gifts of life were contributed over the course of, I think, 6 blood drives just this fiscal year, including the latest one on October 6th. The next one is December 8th. So if you can donate blood, please, to help replenish New York City's supply, it is always appreciated. Okay, scrolling down to the top of page 8, we did this a few times, but we continue to maintain as regular the very valuable public art collection we have throughout Battery Park City. Pictured there is some work being done on the pylons in October, and to the left is a list of all the artwork that was cleaned over the course of the end of September through October 2021. We covered this already and at some length, but at the bottom of page 8, we have our 2 new special patrol officers. So congratulations, SPOs Osei and Reyna. They're pictured there being sworn in, One Police Plaza on October 20th. So in keeping with what we said with some additional SPOs, hopefully we can continue to remind folks of what the rules are and enforce when necessary. Okay, parks lawns we talked about are open. You'll see the link there. Reminder, wild leashed pets are permitted on hard surface throughout Battery Park City. They are not permitted on parks lawns. Read more, and that's the hyperlink to It's a Dog's Life in BPC. That's also been emailed to Justine and Lucian and Kelly, so thank you. We talked about this briefly, Lucian and I, but we come to the committee once a year and kind of do a budget presentation. We'll look to set a date to do that, Justine, sometime in early 2022. We did one in April of this year.
I've been asked to do it sooner rather than later, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I probably can't do it next month, but we'll find some time early 2022. We did it in February of 2020 and April of this year, so we'll do one early 2022.
That would be great. And
okay.
Nick, my request on that one is if we can get Pam and do a really deep dive one like you did in 2018, that was so good. Not that I don't want to see BJ. I want BJ too, but you guys did a really deep dive.
We did one in April too with the presentation, so we'll do that. But we can we can come in and present it. What is linked there, by the way, in that page is a link to the budget presentation we made to the board on page 9 as well. So that's linked in the board meeting last week. You can watch BJ run through a presentation there for the board. Right there, there's a picture of the staff, and then there's a link to the presentation and to the video that talks about our budget for this year. But we'll do one for the community board as well. Okay, resiliency projects. We know all about this, including additional reminders about the workshops and the EIS for the South project, which is being worked through. We would expect a public hearing on the EIS for the South project in March 2022. We'll run that through environmental protection, of course, but so you guys are all caught up, that's where we are. And we marked the 9th and solemn anniversary of Hurricane Sandy last Thursday. I'm sorry, last Friday, the 29th, and we did a little rundown about where we are with each of the projects for that. Okay, scrolling through here, page 11. Justine, I went deep for you. I want you to know. Okay. Wayfinding signage installation is ongoing. Police memorial expansion ongoing. Ballfields Center and Resiliency, Ballfields and Community Center Resiliency nearing completion. You see a picture there of the fencing installed. Scroll down a little bit more, Lucian. That's it. That's the interim protection around the ball field.
Yeah.
And the restoration of the ball field's terrace at the bottom there also also
I was
nearing
supposed
completion.
to ask. I'm so glad you said that. When will that be done?
I told you I'd get back to you, and I not only put a report in, I put the picture in it.
Okay.
So later this year, I don't want to get ahead of myself and give you an exact date, but by the end of the year, it should be opened up. With any luck, perhaps a little earlier, but it'll be opened up.
All right.
Okay.
At the end of the year, it's been okay, and here it is. Yeah.
Yep.
End of this year. All right. Thank you.
Of course. Okay. Very quickly, we have a new neighborhood coordination officer from the 1st Precinct in Sector C. So it used to be Rockwalski and Holman. It is now, I'm not joking, Rockwalski and Dabrowski. So Sector C, our new neighborhood coordination officer is Daniel Dabrowski. You have his mobile phone number there and his email. And these are the folks that Pat and the team work closely with on quality of life type issues. So we have a great relationship with the 1st Precinct, and they are able to coordinate with us when there are particular issues that can use some additional support or advice. And they ask, obviously, community partners like us to put their names and cell phone numbers out there. They want to know about quality of life complaints and ways that they can help.
So
Okay.
let me interrupt one quick second, Amy.
Yeah,
This
sure.
also might be something to share with your PTA folks. Gosh, it's been such a long time, but going on and getting this link and looking about the neighborhood policing and meeting these guys and then maybe inviting them to your school. They used to come, right? Because all pre-COVID, they used to come to the schools. They were there, they were around. They're cops, they're actual police officers. And it might be something that would be a way for, I guess what the police department was trying to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody here, but they were trying to go back to the beat cops. So these are the beat cops for Battery Park City. And this also might be helpful. And this is in addition to, obviously, the Allied Universal that's specific to Battery Park City. But these are our cops in our neighborhood who are assigned to us. And it's 24/7, right? They have in the sectors, or is it not? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not working 24/7, but if they're not on, they'll leave a message, they'll get back to you. But they have
they're around,
varying hours. Right. Look, again, if it's an emergency, please 911, which is truly 24/7.
Of course.
But this is,
that might be something
hey, there's
to
a
pay attention
persistent
to.
issue here with some traffic in a particular area, or yes, reach out to the police and to the neighborhood coordination officers. The idea that's the idea, to kind of have the cop on the beat that because you see him or her walking the streets.
Yes, exactly.
That's the idea behind neighborhood policing. So yes, and Amy, if you have my email at the top of this report. If you want to send me your information, I can get you plugged into all the rest of our updates. Although the name sounds familiar, I think we've probably crossed paths before. I'll check my emails.
And I think so. And
But thank you, Amy. Thank you for that feedback. It was really helpful. Okay, bottom of page 12, just the mugs on a couple of those guys from the Battery Park City Halloween Parade was great. Okay, look at these two. That was on Halloween. Great work, and partnering with the BPC Dog Association, La Pet Spa. We were glad to.
I love it.
We were glad to permit that event, and it was really a hit. See, so again, a lot of my time I spent on dogs, but I mean, look at those two. Okay, some just highlights here. So Campfire Stories and Songs on Saturday, October 30th. I mean, that's just a gorgeous event in Teardrop Park by our Parks programming team. Thank you to all who attended. We had music, we had activities, we had costumes. Really, a lot of fun was had by all, and just I didn't take that picture, but I wish I did. It's just a gorgeous representation of what happens here. So thanks to all who attended. I hope everyone enjoyed. And right below it is Strings on Hudson. That was October 21st. That's in Belvedere Plaza. So that is our classical music series that happens right on the Hudson River. And we had a really magnificent turnout for that on a late autumn afternoon. So just scrolling down here, just a couple of reminders. This is not necessarily new stuff, but stuff that folks should be aware of. We have Ready BPC that we talked about. We have Spotted Lanternfly, which we put out some information on, including how to report them when you see them. Poetry Path is still up and around throughout Battery Park City in the northern end, and the temporary art installation, which is the Mildred Howard installation near Belvedere Plaza as well. And I think that was mostly a community composting we've done at the top of page 15. You all know about that. Security updates by Pat, thank you. Next board meeting is November 17th and Wednesday, December 15th. That closes out the year. And I've scrolled down a little bit. Lucian,
Nick,
go ahead,
I have
sorry.
a quick question about BPC community composting.
Yes.
These bins are you required to have a membership to open them with an app?
No, not at all. Ryan, you want to take it? I know this is one of your prides and joys.
You have to unmute her again.
Oh, sorry. I have to go back. Hold on. I've got to just flip through the screen here.
And Nick, after Ryan talks about the composting, I'm going to ask you just what's going on with Code's house, but Ryan first.
Yes.
Yes, no, anybody and everybody can and should put their compost in those green bins. They might feel exclusive, but they're not. You just kind of put your fingers in there and you kind of, there's like a little bit of a trap that you push in, and that what allows it to pull up. And that's just to prevent rodents and stuff to be able to get in there, but it is open, it's out 24/7, and we collect it daily. Anybody can come and do it.
Who takes the compost material?
We do. Yep. Battery Park City
You all do it
Authority.
on site?
Correct. Yep. Do it all on site.
Okay. Just give context for my question. The Downtown Alliance has a compost program that we've been promoting, but I found out today that as a result of the Department of Sanitation's staffing issues,
you're not cleaning
that they're having trouble getting it actually started up. So even though they hope to start November 1st, it's going to be unclear when they'll actually be able to begin. So I'm glad to hear that you all have a different partnership or say different resources to make yours successful without sanitation at this point.
Yeah. To take it all.
Yeah.
You guys,
Sanitation is great, and they have some different capabilities than we do, certainly given their size and scope. But one of the benefits of kind of being, I think, a separate program is that we were able to continue composting throughout. So we never ceased composting over the course of the pandemic. Ryan, unless I'm mistaken, but I think we continued throughout, right?
Never stopped.
And I remember, not that I want to keep talking about this because it's 9:30 almost, but I remember a really cool presentation about how you do it in your offices, and there's all this, and the dog composting. I don't think I'm dreaming that happened at a meeting.
No, it's not, and not to belabor the point, Justine, but because this is really one of the things that we're proud of a lot of the work we do, but we really are leading on this. If the committee wanted to do maybe a tour at some point, let us know. We can get some time up. I'm sure Ryan would love to show you what we have going on,
That would be
where
cool.
we collect the compost, what we do. Like we said, sometimes walking through and getting your eyes on it really helps tell the story. And then maybe we can report that out at a subsequent meeting. But let me know if you want to do it. We can find a date.
That sounds great. Yeah, no, I like that. And then what's going on with Poet's House?
So Poet's House, as far as I understand, and I can check with Lee, I believe they're going through kind of a restructuring, but they are planning to reopen. I don't have an exact date. But what I can do for December is come back and have an update for you, unless there's an update from them before that, in which case we'll let you know.
Perfect.
But I'll add it on my list.
Put it in your report if just so we have if it's something to report, you can put it in the report.
For sure. And then the last page is just, well, obviously, the First Precinct Community Council you'll see is going to
Yeah.
be Thursday, December 2nd. Justine started to go to those as well. It's usually the last Thursday of every month, but seeing as it's Thanksgiving this month, it's instead going to be Thursday, December 2nd. You can sign up and get the Zoom link there. And then the last page was just Pat's stats. So I think that's it. Thank you for bearing with me, Justine, and for the time.
No, thank you for the report, Nick. I appreciate it. And like I said, a lot of good information comes out of here, and that walkabout was something that a lot of people missed. Myself, I paid attention to it, but it slipped my mind. So
Yeah, no, it's okay. And we heard, and that's what I really wanted to do. We were thinking about it anyway. So to hear you all say that you wanted a weekend one, we thought it made sense as well.
I think it's helpful. Yeah. So I appreciate it. Once again, you're being responsive. All right, Bob, I'm not calling on you. I want to go home, but I do see Robin's hand is up.
Can I just do two quick things? They're reasonable.
They're reasonable and fast. Don't tell me a story.
Okay,
Tell me a
reasonable and fast. On the section in art cleaning and maintenance, the Berlin Wall is chipping away to nothing. And so if it makes it through another winter, I don't think it's going to survive. So that needs restoration and cleaning. It's getting to an emergency kind of situation. On the compost front, what I've noticed that for the first time, I've actually run into filled receptacles where you couldn't even close the top on them anymore because the goop overfloweth, and so it's a little bit over the top. So in terms of planning, if that program's going to be expanded, it needs some larger vessels to hold the stuff in if it's going to hold it over a weekend or however that works. But you should start keeping records on whether or not they're filled. In terms of trash receptacles, we already fill them, we get to the top of them and they just keep on going, and people don't know what to do. So we have heaps of trash next to the receptacles. And I could unhappily, I could make records of photographs of all this stuff if you need them, or you can just take my word for it, but it's the truth. So those are my two additions.
Good
No, for sure. Look, Bob, if you see a picture of a receptacle overflowing, then text me and we'll get it cleaned up.
Yeah.
And composting for sure. I would love, I'm sure Ryan would too. I would love if our biggest problem was that the composters were too filled, because that means people are doing it.
Yeah.
So we can either make them bigger receptacles or we can pick them up more frequently. But I think Ryan would be game for that for sure.
Excellent.
So we don't want to be feeding the rats either by having
Exactly right.
Not having them closed.
Exactly right.
Exactly. All right, Robin, you're next. Maybe you're last.
I really didn't have anything. I think it's an old hand raise, so.
Okay, perfect. Old hand is good. Kelly.
So good night. We're happy to end.
I think I'm happy to end too. Kelly, and just unmute him just to make sure there's nothing that he wants to add, but let's do it in 1 second, Kelly.
Very quick question, Ryan. In the compost bins, bags or no bags, plastic bags or paper bags?
I mean, never plastic, because we just
Never
end up
plastic.
never plastic.
Okay.
But happy to sort through them just so that people compost. I do understand there's a issue. But paper bags are fine, even if you just have a container that you bring with you and you just dump it in. We can even
Okay with dumping.
I'm
Okay,
dumping.
great.
That's fine too. Yeah.
All right,
Kelly,
thank
good
you.
question. Thank you. Okay.
But great question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I can second it, I think. So I would say thank you so much for the time and attention tonight, and have a lovely evening, everybody.
You too.